Hey guys,
Hi,
can you guys
Mary.
hear me okay? Okay, good.
Yes, we
I'm
hear
like, it's so
you.
quiet.
Yes, we were all muted.
Normally, oh no, it's fine. Normally it'll beep at me and maybe I have my volume down. Oh, I do. Okay, that's what it was. I didn't hear anybody come in. I'm like, sorry. Oh, it's an off Saturday. Anybody else having an off day? Last few days have been pretty rough energetically.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
going on over
same.
there? I feel like it's ascension symptoms.
Yeah, I think so, Mary. It's the same here in the UK. I tell you what, weird weather here. Almost like, um, like you've got a dial and you just turn it to like hail for 2 minutes, and then you turn it to wind, and then to sun. It's literally that crazy at the moment, the weather.
Wow. Yeah, ours are kind of doing the same thing. We're in spring, but they're supposed to said we're supposed to have a lot of rain coming in. It's gonna be cold again. So I don't know. Trying to
Yeah,
shock all life into non-existence.
it's just crazy to have hail in spring here for like 2 minutes, and then it changes to rain, and then it changes to sun. It's literally like a dial. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's why a lot of planets get black holes is because they mess with that type of equipment or those
Do you think that?
things.
Do you think they're terraforming?
Well, yeah, they're using the terraformers for sure. Are the old terraformers are the ancient pyramids. They have new ones though. I looked them up. If you, this was a couple years ago. I don't know how much that information's still up or not. Um, but if you Google terraformers, it'll tell you what they're doing on the moon and on Mars. Or at least I found it. I can probably try to find it again, and post it, but I found it fascinating. But yeah, they showed the new model of the newer terraformers. They're not as big as obviously the pyramids. Um, but they can definitely go unnoticed in the middle of nowhere under tall grass and send out frequencies to either create life or destroy it.
Mm, I saw something today where they've apparently found us under the Sphinx. They found hidden way down another Sphinx.
Hmm.
Literally. And I thought, okay, so I'm just thinking like as above, as below. Like, so is the Sphinx that we're seeing now, is that some kind of bullshit Sphinx? And the real one with the energy or the is further down? I don't know.
It could be, or could be the duality, the one
Yeah,
we see and then the one we don't see.
yeah,
Kind of like the secret societies, the
yeah.
society we see and the society we don't see,
Uh,
or the
I
countries we don't see. Those are fascinating.
I was reading my notes again from your green door thing, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I was like thinking about. So my question is about the Titans and the the parasitic Titans. Like you said, is that's kind of like we've been quarantined because we can't return with the Titans. Yeah. Is there anybody here
Yeah,
that is there anybody here that hasn't got that kind of those parasites?
the
Um,
elites mostly, and their families, like the ones that Well, okay, so I think it's more of a vibrational thing, but yeah, the elites do have certain chambers and stuff in their houses that they go in, from my understanding. The few that I've spoken to, um, they've got vibrational meditation rooms, and it keeps them pretty clean. I'm trying to think. I don't remember what they call them other than meditation rooms. My grandma had one. You know how we have prayer rooms in our closets or something? They have those rooms, but they keep their bodies pretty clean from parasites and mold and other stuff. And we have, well, people don't use tuning forks and stuff anymore out here. My grandparents used to use tuning forks, put them in the earth, like big ones, and then my grandpa would walk by and dong it every now and then. So, but it's gone now. So, I don't know. I just think it depends on the culture and what people use. I don't have enough evidence about the bells that actually created certain frequencies because the size of the bell was important. Um, I mean, I have a little bell that, my friend Shannon gave my daughter, and she was ringing it. I'm like, why don't you're gonna wake up grandma and she's gonna kill you because that sound is gonna irritate her. But but then the big sounds, it's meditative. So like the deep bong kind of sound. Um,
Yeah, I was talking more about, when you're talking about the Titans and the fact that they're going to grow, that they're going to grow big, but you refer to them as like a parasite. So what you were talking about with the sound and stuff, and
well, that's
that's
how
to
you
do.
get rid of them is sound frequency. So the
So
they
we're
don't know
talking
any more than
about
you
parasite
know.
of. Oh, is that what
Huh?
we're saying? A Titan is a parasite, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so look at it this way. Could you kill any of your children?
God no.
Right. So why would we expect the gods to actually do it? Okay, there are gods that do like to do the sacrifice and they do kill their children. But the creator over not just our planet, but this entire galaxy, is an actual kind creator, and they do not like to kill their creations. So, and all life starts here because we're called the cradle of existence. So, I mean, what does that come down to? Everything started here. This is the original planet, regardless of, what everybody else thinks. Um, the Titans were the first. Well, no, they weren't the first. The first were actually the ancient soul dragons, but they were here before the stars, before anything. They were, I guess, the the dragons that planted the seeds of existence, creating the stars first and then the planets, and it was just kind of a very illuminating, I guess, thing. I wouldn't know how to describe what that even looks like for some people. And then came the Titans, and the Titans come in many different shapes and sizes. Um, but yeah, it's like a fishbowl. If they're in the metaverse, they're huge. So the defect with that creation was the bigger you get, the hungrier you are. So if you're bigger than planets, but there's nothing out there big enough to feed you, then what are you going to do? You're going to be drawn to the life of a planet because it's still living. It's just not a moving target. So these titans were, swallowing up whole galaxies just to feel food, right? So instead of then the angels came, the order of 10 and 9. They were first, and that was the first war of heaven, I guess you would call it. And again, each galaxy has their own version of heaven. However, the metaverse has a singular heaven. And it is the one that's here. Uh, Again, because this is creation, so it's not on this planet. It has its own galaxy. Um, Close to ours, not quite that far. Um, But the angels, the warrior angels, or God's military, they were created to stop and destroy um, the Titans because they were killing all other creation and themselves just because they couldn't satisfy their hunger. They grew too big, too massive, and but that's the thing is when you create something, right? When we have children, we have these high expectations of what they're going to do, what they're going to be, right? And then one of them turns out to be like the world's craziest serial killer. How do you live with that? A lot of parents will end up killing themselves thinking that they failed. Others, will love them no matter what, but they can't kill them to stop them, right? They actually do rely on, legal sources to stop them, and they repent in their own way. So that's the gamble of existence itself, is how does a soul mesh with the experience? So Titans are still an experience, but they're an immortal experience. So it takes an immortal to kill an immortal, and it takes special tools, that were given by certain gods, in order to do so. But the parent could never do and kill their own children, so they create other children to do it. Because, there's always some kind of sibling rivalry. Um, and then the order of heaven began with the angels and then kind of spread out with different other creations. Um, Lots of different creations. The first in our sequence was the reptinoids. They were about 80. They were over 80 billion years ago. But in the documented space history, they fled about 83 billion years ago from our world because of a ship called Meteor that landed and exploded and killed everything. So the arcs, even then, took them to the Delta Quadrant to get them away from safety. And some of them may have, stayed behind and survived in inner Earth or, one of the other dimensions. But it's kind of like a baby in a nest. If the bird doesn't fly, it's going to get kicked out. And it's either going to fly or it's going to crash to the ground and become somebody's food. So we mock the universe in each planet that you're at. It's just different with each understanding of each species. So and then you have over 200 species living here. Half of them eat our other species, and we eat their species, and nobody really understands what they're doing. So the Titans were brought, well, they were stuck in the void as tiny 1 and 2 dimensional beings. Because again, they can't be killed. I mean, they can. Like, when we kill parasites here, they're like us. They have a soul, and it just goes back to the void. The problem is, I think it was the sequence of the third Eve, or the fourth Eve, also known as Sophia. Sophia is an interesting gal. She broke into veils. She cut into veils. And the void was one of them. Several different voids. The voids are like eternities. And that's kind of where creation harnesses people or vessels or souls, not really vessels, but souls and spirits that can't function properly in a physical experience. So that's kind of a lot of where the Titans went. So when these voids were being cut into, it allowed them to seep into Middle Earth. But Middle Earth is small. It's a small fishbowl compared to the universe. So yes, if we get out of this domed cage, if you want to call it, or purgatory, which it does say in the Bible, they will like literally bust out of your body like nothing. Your body will explode with parasites. They actually make a few movies about it. So.
Sorry, what was that? They actually what, darling?
Huh?
I didn't hear what you said. You said they actually
Make movies about it?
Oh, movies. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that helps. Thanks, because I was just revisiting your Green Door talk, and I just wanted to ask about the Titans because I didn't quite understand it at the time. But thanks for that,
Yeah.
Liv.
Well, it's kind of like carp fish. If you think about goldfish, we think they're cute and everything, but put them in a big enough lake and they can actually eat humans. So,
What you mean they grow to the size of their environment?
yeah, just like, yeah, the parasites do the same thing. So,
Yeah,
that's
thanks
why
for
it's
that.
good to do a lot of cleansing. So I found it interesting. I drove down to the local little market where I live, and we have this bridge over one of the American rivers. And I've never before seen in this town, I've been here my whole life, like 46 years. Um, what do you call it? Um, when they're out there with signs promoting something, a rally of some sort, and they were holding up "Go Save Our Democracy, No Kings in America," and what was it? I was like, wow, that's interesting. I've never seen that in this little town because I'm not gonna lie, we're not racist, but we're very redneck, and there's like these people off to the side watching them, and I'm like, that's a horrible place for people to have a rally if like the Hills Have Eyes people come down. All they got to do is throw them in the river off the bridge. But it's interesting to see how close fascism is in this country.
Hey, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm wondering if anybody wanted to, because I kind of save the threads and I go through the threads and curious if anybody wants to review any of those things that you kind of speak about. And my friend Ray is the one that asked, I guess, you about, I'm going to, bring up a question. My friend Ray is the one that asked, are those Ashayana Dean's diagrams? And I couldn't tell because I went to your conference, and that was at that was the conference that we went up to Sacramento, and that you did show that diagram already.
Hmm.
I have a couple of the Ashayana Dean books, but only because it resonated with me and everything like that. But I have not seen that in the book that I have here in Vegas. I probably have a couple other books over in New York, so I'd have to check that out. But the final conclusion is that they're basically, you've seen that diagram because you're able to get into those files. And right,
Yeah.
the bottom line is Ashayana Dean is kind of a hijacked individual, which is really interesting because I don't know if anybody's seen it lately, that she probably, obviously, that's what's known right now, but her daughter is going very much against her right now. There's a bunch of videos about that, but I've only seen that, a couple of months ago. So someone
Well, and
brought
it,
that up.
it it does have the same patterns of what she does, but she was given permission. So at first when somebody, I think it was, gosh, who was it? Somebody had shown me, maybe it was Chili or you. It might have been somebody else, but I can't remember who introduced me to Mashana Dean at the time. And so I literally sought her out because I resonated with some of the stuff, most of the stuff that she was talking about. But when I looked back on when I went to Area 7 in the military, it was very early in my, like they literally pulled me out of AIT. And after AIT was over, which is your advanced training. It's not basic, but it's where you go after basic training. You go and you learn what your job is, and mine was intel. So I was flown out to DC, and it's the first time I met General Smith, who was my great uncle. And he was one that took me down to base 7. No, I don't know the names of things, but I know numbers. So I do know the different numbers of bases, and I know they're called dulces as well. They have different names. It just depends on who refers to what. Um, but when I was down there transcribing the ancient Phoenician, and I was told that I mean, literally signed an NDA. I can never talk about the two Jesuses because there was more than two. It's just two survived, and there was 10, and it does document when the gods come down here and breed with humanity. And then they're called evolutionary lines, so bloodlines, if you will. So how that looks is depends on the god. And there's a lot of gods, and God is only a term that we use down here to describe immortality. Because I mean, who doesn't want to live forever, right? So if you have a way that you could possibly live forever, you're gonna worship a deity, or whatever you want to call him. But the thing that got me is I wasn't allowed to talk about that stuff. But when she started talking about it with a contract through the DoD, that made me mad because she could talk about what I uncovered in all that text, but I couldn't. And there was a lot of stuff that I felt was, not manipulated or changed. She is a very spiritual person. I did talk to her first husband, and I had an interview with him. And, like all of us, we are all very spiritual, but nobody knew that information until I was given, the scrolls to talk about. There's a lot of other stuff, like the names of the other apostles they don't tell you about that are in other ancient books, or transcriptions, the names and ages of the children. Like I said, Mary, before the war, she had 3 children, and the Roman Catholic Church, or the Roman Catholic priesthood, they weren't even a church then, killed their Mary and Jesus's youngest children as a message uh, to Jesus. But again, Jesus wasn't on the cross. That wasn't him. That was one of his apostles who took his place. So there was a lot of things that happened, and the only reason that Sarah survived was because Mary was pulled by not just Paul, but there was like 2 other apostles that aren't even in the Bible. They're not in any recent Bible. But there was more than 12 apostles. But they weren't bad apostles, and they died along the way by the ones who were the bad apostles. So, and there's a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if I want to cut you off with that. Yeah, it was me because there is a video, and I remember when I met you, we started talking about the Jesus 9 and the 10, and I sent you the video, and I was like, oh, what you're talking about resonates with what I've seen. And I remember sending you the video over it because there were some videos that I was very, very connected with where I notebooked them out from Ashayana Dean. And then obviously they were all scrubbed right now because they took her stuff off, and even her website's not even really updated. But yeah, that was the big conversation about the Jesus 9 and Jesus 12. So I was just more looking at it like right now, because I've been looking at my stuff to see. The book that I do have here in Vegas, and I print them all out so that I could have a hard copy of it, and it's called The Angelic Realities. So I just want to bring that up anyway. But also, I'm just going through the threads so to make sure everybody gets kind of covered. It seems like sometimes the questions aren't answered completely. You talked about the bunkers in Arizona, and you took those pictures. Those are your pictures?
Yeah, that was when I went. Well, I was headed. Those are in Nevada, not Arizona. I was headed to Arizona, and it's I think Route 20 or 90 or something, 92, I believe. But anyways, that's the quickest way to get down through Vegas. It's like a 6-hour or 8-hour drive from where I am in Northern California, as opposed to the 12-hour drive going down south of California to hit Vegas. I've done both routes. But yeah, and when I was in the military, I would drive to a lot of my stations because I had jet lag really bad, and to avoid me getting medically discharged because of it. Again, I was under General Smith most of my military career, so as long as I didn't show certain weaknesses, nobody noticed. So it's kind of scrubbed under the table because I had talents they needed. But that was a World War II military base at one time. And there was a lot of underground bunkers there that they looked like mounds. And every couple of years I would drive past it. Nothing changed. It was almost like it was a museum that you got to see from the road, right? It would give you the history. And the year that I went to go see Russell J. Gould in Arizona, I passed it, and then I took those pictures because those were there first on I think the right hand side, because there's a left and a right on the main highway, and there was a fence up, right? That wasn't there before. It just had signs saying restricted area, do not cross, and then there was a small military depot there, but and so I took those pictures, and then for my birthday a few years ago, I went to Vegas, and it was bigger. Like, there's literally hundreds of those things. And now the Navy is involved. It's like the Army and the Navy, and there is a lake there, which makes me wonder if it's actually an underground submarine port. Nobody can see it, but they only port at night, so driver-bys can't see the submarines docking in any specific way. But yeah, there's fences. The people guarding the actual gates are not wearing like American military uniforms. I think I saw an Italian military uniform at one point, and it was a blue one, but it wasn't our Air Force. It was somebody else. So I don't really remember who. It could have been NATO guarding the gate. But the thing about these bunkers is some of them only have 2 or 3 windows at the very top and like 1 or 2 doors depending on the size of the building. So I do know that in Obama's updated draft of the FEMA camp operations, the actual prison cells were underground. Now, if that base was mostly underground due to, the scare of Russia bombing us, right? Then that facility was just upgraded. And nobody would have ever seen the construction of it. I don't even know how those buildings came up. You don't see anybody coming in and out. So it has to be done like at night when there's not that much going on. And I did see one of those laser, it was all white and it had that big eye on it. It's one of the laser drones. And when I tried to get a picture of it, the picture came out just black. So they made any frequency or any kind of picture taking just made your picture black. I tried it with my phone and I tried it with my son's phone. So yeah, it was quite fascinating. They totally blocked anybody taking a picture of it. But I did see one taking off from the military base. And then that was when all the fires were going on everywhere.
Mary.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Justin. We met at the Super Soldier Conference in October.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to hear your voice.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. And I heard you on Salah's podcast recently, and I was just reminded of how intelligent you are and just how full of information you are. The rate at which you pull information out of your head is impressive, and how much you have in there and how much detail is there. It's like most people's brains aren't wired like that. But I'm glad yours is. But anyway.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little envious over here. But
Don't be. It came with a lot of damage. So
yeah,
the more
right,
I talked,
right.
the more I got hurt. So
But you just mentioned, I just heard you mention Russell J. Gould, and I kind of know who he is, and I was curious to know if you met him and what you think of him, and as it pertains to the state national movement. Because yeah, go ahead. Let's start with that, I guess.
well, I don't trust him. I did before. And it was only because of Sergeant Horton that I joined it, and I did meet him a few times. I went to a few of his seminars, and unfortunately, he is not the guy we think he is.
Okay.
I hate to say that, but he's the reason my kids and I are homeless.
Currently?
So, yes. Well, I
Well,
live with my mom, and like everybody else, we go to people who might be able to help us with the courts, right?
Yeah.
And so I did, and I have an advanced legal background, but even I couldn't understand like why the courts were acting out of jurisdiction. So I had gone to him and I was using his templates, and I found one because I had just gone into the National Archives and found David Wynn Miller's 999 pages of everything he filed, which was really cool. But I found a similar document that Russell had, and I thought that one was even better than what Russell had given us, so I used it. The problem was is I put Russell's tagline at the bottom, and in my court case, so I won the court case, but then I didn't hear anything for 3 months.
I just lost you, Mary. It seems like your mic is cut out, even though it's not
Yeah.
on mute. Oh,
Sometimes no, but sometimes she's in a bad area, so she'll come back on it.
I
She
got.
has told this story a bunch of times, and it's recorded.
Oh,
So you can go back to it because she'll tell you exactly what happened and how the court system took care of business against her.
oh,
And
cool.
so it's there he is in some of the back like messages. So if you ever watch it.
Do you know where I could find that? Just searching in Telegram, you think?
I mean, I'll put it in the thread and I'll look for it. But like I said, it's very good, and very scary at the same time. But she'll explain it again over here, but she'll go in detail again with it when she gets back.
Well, I mean, I don't need to, monopolize other people's time or her time. I can just watch it on my own. I'm totally fine with that.
No, it's not that I want to. It's because I feel like when someone asks about that, they need to see the full picture. And the bottom line is, a lot of people got put into like me and Chili did, and so now we have to like exit out of the plan. And then later on we met Mary, and now that's the reason why she explains the Book of Life, and it's like kind of done in like a series, so you'll understand it even more. And the first time it might have been the second interview that we had here. I think that's important for you to listen to, because she talks about the Book of Life and the reasons why to take it and why to do it. So these are great questions, but I feel like that you need to know the series of it so that you'll be like, oh, this is the reason why we're doing the Book of Life. So,
Okay.
but yeah, these are great questions though. I'm Rusty, by
Thank
the
you.
way. I just kind of steer her back and circle back to questions because I always want all the questions being answered. I'm a teacher, so I'm kind of crazy like that.
Thank
So
you.
I always
Yeah,
want people to know, and there's like all these little series so that you kind of understand the full picture. But she'll be back. She always has a couple of like struggles with the internet when she speaks.
okay. Yeah, she had mentioned also Black's Law Dictionary in a podcast with Dr. Sala, and almost in a dismissive fashion, as if that's just one of many different legal frameworks. And I was curious about that because my understanding is that that is the most authoritative legal reference that we have. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So I also do studies with onestupidfuck.com. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I have notebooks on that, and he answers me personally because I've done many things for it. My personal belief right now is that I need to live in both worlds, and yes, Mary will know about that because I didn't talk to her this week, but we always call each other. So I've known her for at least now I think I'm going on 4 or 5 years. But anyway, yes, she can explain a couple of things about it, and that's why I think the full picture, you're asking like all the right questions. And so I'll put them in the threads on how probably you could listen to some of her stories about it because you'll get the full picture. But I think personally how it's very important to know every system so that you understand how the Book of Life is. And through the thread, she sent out an entire 35 pages of the reason why she is giving the Book of Life. And so that's in the thread. I'll, if you want me to repeat it, I will. It's basically coming from the office of Mary, and that's her information. But the way she broke it down in like some way, like a summary form, so that you can understand the reason of why she's doing it and not feel like you're being strapped to another system. Because Brandon's system is another system, but it's in our earthly system right now. That's how I explain everything. But I think his information is amazing, absolutely amazing. He educates you so well that you can now understand this world and then understand Mary's world.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard of the Book of Life on this call here. So, and from you. So I'm not really familiar with any of that. But yeah, whatever resources that you can point me towards, I'd be interested in checking them out.
Yeah, because I know she sent stuff to Dr. Michael Sala about that Book of Life, but they didn't talk about it in the interview. And so I kind of rip apart these interviews and I try to have Mary circle them back because she's like a one-hit wonder. We laugh about this all the time because I'm like, you got to repeat this, you know? So I have a list of things that I want her to talk about because I think it's really important.
Good for you. And good for her to have
and
you in
it's
her corner.
also, well, hi Justin, this is Shannon, and it's also referenced as the Master Exit Template. So you may have heard it that way as well.
What was it called?
It's also called the Master Exit Template.
Master Exit Template.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard of that either. Have you? But you have certainly, Shannon. What did you read it? And did you employ it? And what were the effects of it?
Yes, to all those questions. I think I first read it in the beginning of 24 is when she first got introduced to me, and I looked at it, processed it, looked at it some more, studied it, because it's not something you just jump into. And you get that right away. But I have completed mine. I have recorded mine. The military has a copy of mine. And it just really opens you up to, hey, I was born here as a free living woman with spiritual gifts. And that's what I am getting back. I am remembering.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't quite understand how it benefits you. Like, help me understand. Can you help me understand? How reading it might benefit me or other people, even.
Well, it's to get out of all the loopholes that you inadvertently sign through this matrix that you get into by signing terms and conditions here or saying stuff like you're welcome to the wrong person, and you kind of get yourself into a certain position spiritually, which does affect your physical world. So this is a spiritual freeing. This is a covenant with your creator, and you get out of all that. And you go back to just being a free living woman or man.
choose either one?
Well, I'm just saying I'm a living woman. I don't want you to think that you can't do it as a living man.
I'm just kidding. Technically, I guess I can in today's world, but I think I'll just remain a man.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting. And you mentioned there's something that piqued my curiosity a little bit. You said if you say you're welcome to the wrong person, it's almost like inviting a vampire into your home. Seems like. What did you? Can you give an example of when it would be a bad idea to say you're welcome to a certain individual?
Well, unfortunately, you're asking the right person because I had some friends close to me that I didn't know that were involved in black magic and sorcery and that type of stuff. And I welcomed them into my home. And you would say, I have good manners. So, when they would say, thank you, I'd be like, oh, you're welcome. Well, what am I really welcoming in? I didn't truly know them spiritually. I knew what they project to me and what they want me to see them as. So I had to find out the hard way. some really heavy spiritual attacks that I had to get healing for. So I turn my mats around at my doors where the welcome and it's welcome me to the world. And I don't say you're welcome to anybody. I just say, of course.
Wow. So do you mind going into detail a little bit about what the attacks were like and how do you figure this out about these people?
Well, it really kind of started with the Book of Life. I had a friend who was also doing the Book of Life. She's the one who introduced me to Mary. And so we did the Book of Life, and she just kind of kept pulling her feet about it. And I was like, well, I'm ready to go record it. And she's like, I don't know. And we're like, well, let's go get it done, So we go do it, and she was just, usually when you do it, you have this really great feeling, this really great, like, this huge weight off of you. And then she didn't seem like she felt like that at all. So when it came time to take it to the military, the certified copy, we said, well, let her sit with it for a minute and we'll go ahead and do this and go with her when she's ready. So we go, me and another friend, and we call her that night to let her know, hey, this is what we did. Whenever you're ready, we want to go with you. Well, the very next morning, here we are, like 5 hours apart. We both wake up sick as a dog. Sick as a dog. Like, it's in August, I think it was, July or August. Felt like you had the flu. So I had 2 days, and then I met Mary for the first time. And when I met Mary, she said, something's not right. And so she put me in touch with a body code practitioner. And when I got in touch with the body code practitioner, she was checking my body, and I had walls that had been placed around my spleen to keep me from getting well. And she asked me, walls.
Walls, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so she asked me who I had been around the last several days. And so I started giving names. And when I mentioned this particular friend's name, she said, her. That's her. She's the sorceress. I'm like, wait, what? And she did a healing right then through Creator. And I immediately got relief, like while we're on the phone. And I was like, this is real? My mind was blown. And it took several sessions, actually, to get complete healing.
Wow. And what is your relationship with the sorceress now?
Non-existent.
Has she tried to come back at you?
No, she can't. There's universal laws, so I don't even have to block her on my phone or anything because she crossed lines where she can't contact me. So I think it's kind of funny.
Wow.
I don't have her blocked, but she can't reach out to me. She would tell other people, tell her to call me. And it's like, yeah, why can't she call me? I know why.
Wow. And her husband, was he a sorcerer?
No, he's an Igor of sorts. He's unknowingly a siphon for her. No, it's through her mother. Her mother actually is a witch, and they actually attacked my trademark and went to their coven and tied that up for like 3 years. So it was quite nasty. So even though we don't get to see the spiritual world, it is there. The spiritual battle is there. It's going on, whether we have the eyes to see it yet or not.
Totally. And I can't wait to see it at some point. I know people who can, but so far I'm blind.
Right. Well, as if you're born, if you know anything about any kind of the sovereign movements that's going on, when you're born, and they do the birth certificate, well, they actually put you in the book of the dead. So this book of the life is you pulling yourself out of the book of the dead, and you put yourself into the book of the life again, the way you were meant to be.
Interesting. Huh. How long does that process take?
Everybody's different.
How long did it take you?
Probably took me 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And
you take your paperwork to the military.
When you get done with your book, yes, you take that certified copy that you record with Chancery, and you take it and you submit it to the military. So that way they have a copy.
Does that have anything to do with becoming a state national? Is that included in the process, or totally separate?
No, totally separate. This is just you becoming sovereign.
Okay.
Like if you're a state national, you're what? You're still under the state, right?
No, well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, not necessarily under, but
your covenant then is with the state.
And
that's where this is where this is different. Your covenant is with your Creator. You're above all of them.
I see.
Yeah. So here's how I explain it to people, because you're saying the state nationalists and stuff. So you're creating another entity, but it's kind of in the book of life, you're creating your own personal connection to source. And so that's what you're really looking to do. And I don't have my book, but I have processes that I plan on doing, because I live in this 3D world, but I'm an out-of-body explorer, so I've been in forward and backwards in time, so I can go to sleep and see those things. And that's really one of the reasons why I end up connecting with Mary. And there are things that she hasn't repeated here, because there are private conversations that we have that I think are very important for her to speak about, because I have my notes for her to explain this process. And that's why I thought it was great that she did that 35-page summary of why to do this. But because you're on that path with, Brandon Williams, which is, like I said, I ripped apart his stuff and understand that part of what you're speaking about. And Shannon is doing her book, but it is a process, because Mary's still doing her book to complete the process. So there's so much to know about this. And it's nice that you know both worlds. And then when you introduce this into your world, you're going to get it. You'll be like, oh, and this is not just for now. This is for your soul. That's how I explain it.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
A simple thing, how she also explains it, that everybody used to put their life in a Bible, and it was if you ever, I have 2 friends that their grandparents and their friends, my good friends' relatives are the genealogists for their community. So I know how that process goes, but all of their information is in a Bible. And so you're basically creating your Bible of who you are in your life. And that's where all those, the book of Peter, the book of this person, the book of that person. So, the religious part is kind of connected to that, but they made their book. They just don't tell us that that's the book that they made of their existence.
Huh.
Can I ask, Justin, this is Jackie. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you involved with Russell?
No.
Okay.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've heard of him, but I have not.
Yes, please do not.
Okay.
Yes. Very terrible person.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I met a dude. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I met a dude in Sedona who was a little bit suspect to me. He didn't seem totally honest, and but he was plugged in and he was spiritual, but it was, you know, he was kind of narcissistic, and he was kind of borderline liar, really. I mean, maybe not borderline. He kind of was a liar, and he loved Russell J. Gould, and he wouldn't hardly shut up about him. Him and Kevin
What's
Trudeau.
his name? Sorry, say his name again.
I didn't say his name, but his name is Bob. What's his last name? I don't know. He's quite old. He's in his 80s. But I could.
Yeah,
If
those
you,
guys are chipped anyway. They come onto this earth to just change. Like they're just chipped in my eye, where they can't change. And if they're connected to people like Justin Trudeau and they love them, I mean, I've had downloads with him.
No, not Justin Trudeau. Kevin Trudeau.
Oh, okay. But bottom line is, if you already got a good gut feeling that he's bad, he's bad. But I also believe you should educate yourself on everybody's process, and that's what I did. I mean, you name the name, I know who they are. I know what their whole shtick is and where they're at, because I went down.
His name is Bob Shantz.
I meant the bigwigs, like the Russell J. Goulds and the Anna Van Rees and all those people. So I didn't hear about that one. If I saw a picture, then I maybe. But Mary's back though. Mary can answer questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mary's back in. So, okay, Mary, you can go ahead.
Oh,
We
yeah,
were just
I'm
trying to
sorry.
help Justin a little
It
bit.
kicked me out.
Hey, Mary, welcome back to your own.
No, that's fine. What didn't you guys hear? Because I went through a whole thing. I didn't even know.
I don't know if anybody is capable of answering that at this point. We've been talking for a while.
I know. I'm sorry. I was actually talking to myself. So, and then my brother called. I'm like, wait, what? Did I get kicked out?
Oh,
So, but no, I don't trust Russell J. Gould. I don't trust Anna Von Ritz. I don't trust any of them. I do know that good and bad are going to be used on the planet. So the heavens, I have to keep not neutral, because I don't have to be friends with them. But if creators making them do things to fix what they've done, then I mean, who am I to say otherwise, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to associate myself. Russell's not a good guy. He has a contract with the Vatican. He comes from the Mortis Luciferian clan, or whatever that is. I do have pictures of their satanic behaviors. So they definitely showed it when they were in Anaheim, California, and that's a huge Luciferian city. So
interesting.
yeah.
Well, I was, you had mentioned on Salah's podcast, the recent one, that you just mentioned Black's Law Dictionary, and you kind of, the impression I got was that you wrote it off, kind of like, yeah, it's just another thing. It's just another reference, just like this and that and this. Do you remember
Well,
why
when you understand Black's Law Dictionary, you understand where you're at. You know what I mean? And the best thing to do is not fear what everything is. The Black's Law Dictionary is what runs common law, but everybody believes that common law is what's going to save them. It's not. Before 1999, it was judicial law. So judicial law is where it's fair law. Like the victim gets compensated. And the courts actually worked in your favor. But after 1999 is when the reset started. So they were harvesting people, the mortgage crash, and all this other things. Everything leads up to where we're at today. I mean, a reset's going to happen whether we like it or not. You just have to survive the reset. So educating yourself in every different direction you can is the best possible way to survive a reset. Unless I've dropped off again. Did I drop off?
Nope,
No,
I
I'm
got
still
you.
here.
Okay. I feel like I have to do like a check. Because my phone's on the charger inside, but if I'm inside, you're going to hear my kids in the background yelling at each other. Or the motorcycles, it's a beautiful day, everybody's out.
But anytime you get bumped off, I immediately text you. You're off. Da 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 da. So always look.
Right. I know. I told a whole thing about Russell J. Gould, but yeah. the whole story of why him and David were fighting in the first place, that David is not dead, and David works inside the military to actually combat Russell.
David who?
David Windmiller.
Oh, I haven't heard that name. Have you heard about, or do you have any thoughts on Kevin Trudeau?
He's the grandson of what's his name from Cuba?
Castro?
Yeah, Fidel Castro.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, he's the grandson. Remember that kid that floated with his dead mom in the ocean? That was that guy. Nobody remembers that? The story of the kid with the dead mom on a raft fleeing Cuba, and the CIA kept grabbing the kid, and Cuba was like threatening war if the kid wasn't started. That's because it was Fidel Castro's grandson.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
Kevin
that.
Trudeau. Yeah, that's him. I mean, why is Cuba? Why are the CIA going to make a big deal out of one kid, right? I mean, how many Cubans? My oldest son's father is a refugee from Cuba, and they ate peanut butter for a whole week. But this kid's being dragged around all over the place by the CIA.
I've got to correct you, Mary. I think you took me to be saying Justin Trudeau, who's the Prime Minister of Canada, but I said Kevin Trudeau, who's a very different person.
Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do not know that
Well,
person then.
Kevin Trudeau is I'm trying to correct this on this one, but Kevin Trudeau has been blowing up on like TikTok and YouTube. Is that the one that you're talking about, who's a millionaire and he used to be involved in he's also involved. Like, no, there's no millionaire or billionaire guy that's not involved in some kind of Illuminati bit. But I can guarantee you, if I sent this stuff to Mary, she's going to say yes, because that's the thing that I got in my head, because he now talks about the things he's allowed to talk about. But he is are you talking about the billionaire guy right now?
I don't know that he's a billionaire, but I'm sure he's a millionaire. He's the author
I
of
actually was in his classes, so I know a little bit about him. He
and what
went
do you?
to jail for 10 years. He
That's
said
right.
they framed him, and
Yeah.
he was in the societies like what Mary is, her family came from. So, and now he's out, and he wrote a book about things that they don't want you to know. Some of the things I bought 2 of his books. They were very interested. It teaches you how to like eat and lose weight, stuff like that. He said he went to jail because he wrote a book how to lose weight, and the judge didn't like him, and they threw him in jail for 10 years, but he only spent about 9. He's actually from Chicago. So that's basically the background on him.
Right.
Is it's not that much that I can say. I mean, he's doing his thing, and I was just wondering, he wanted to raise money for his case, and I'm saying, okay, if you come from all this family and these people, you know about a lot of things, why do you still need other people to raise money, or I mean regular people to give you money to raise for a court case, when you yourself has been there, you've been rich, you went to jail, you came out, you're still alive, you say you have a fail safe, so that's why they haven't killed him yet. So if you have all these things, why do you still need people to raise money for your court case? It just doesn't add up to me. So, I don't really follow him anymore. So now that's basically it.
Was that the guy that we sent something in to have investigated, Jacqueline?
No, we didn't.
Okay,
I
it
just
was
asked you
somebody
if you
else.
knew him, and I think you said no. Not
Yeah,
really
I
know him.
didn't know him.
No, so
I try not to get into the other groups because again, they only have half information, and they're not designed to let us out. They're designed to let you live if you like pledge your allegiance back to one of their societies. again, the fact that I have the templates that I got, I don't know if that was divine intervention or just an accident. I'm just going to say divine intervention of some sort. But I got both of them, and I was able to rewrite them back to the actual Sesta Q. So you want to be the Sesta Q because that makes you the heir of your family's ancient estates. So how they manipulated it, and I did write an article on this. It'll be up on my new webpage coming up. It's more driven politically, and by the legal part, I took out all the other stuff because I just wanted to dissect the legal aspect of the straw man and how we're imprisoned within a labor system. At one time, these were notes and bonds, and I know people are going to come at me in a way and be like, oh, they are, there's a bank on them. Absolutely, 100%. I see the bank on all mine, but my son, my oldest son's, there's no bank on his birth certificate, so I don't know what that means. But I've seen different birth certificates. I've seen a guy who had one from the Vatican, and he didn't have a bank on his, but the Vatican's the bank, right? So he was a prodigy of, he was supposed to be some pope, and he was not used as the Pope anymore. That's the only one I've ever seen like that, but I've seen quite a few birth certificates with different things on them, and yes, all of them are considered a note, but they're actually promissory notes and notes to pay from your ancestors, whatever. And we volunteered to do it because it was rebuild America, rebuild America, rebuild America, or rebuild the war, rebuild the effort. America attacked this country, and that's how they keep doing it. We're not really fighting a straw man. We're fighting emergency powers, military powers, and governing powers. The three powers that should have never been put on one note, and they did, which is our birth certificate. So it's not really a bond, and that's why the courts don't use it. It was a bond for sure at one point, but they've changed it so we can't use it as a bond. So we have to be up to date on how they change it, and I think I broke through that with this particular article. And having done the process that I've done, and going back to the original Sesta Q, because the Sesta Q is the inheritor. It's the head of the household. The Sesta Q Via Act, not of 1666, but there's a Sesta Q Via Act that made you the servant, and then the Sesta Q Via Act of 1666 made you part of the rebuilding of the labor effort. And that has not changed because we're all rebuilding America, right? Over and over and over again. And any other country that we volunteer to go destroy and rebuild. So
Mary, can you elaborate on the other Sesta Q?
which one? The first one? So
You
the
said there's
Sesta
no
Q,
bond before. There's no bond anymore since
right, it's not a
1999.
bond anymore. That's why you can't use it in
Okay.
court. You can try and
Ah,
you can throw it in the well, you can do all that stuff. But remember, when we start learning that stuff, they find a way to counteract it. So now the birth certificates are no longer birth certificates. They're not bonds. They're promissory notes. So with the two master exit documents I was given, one by the Templars and one by the Masons. One was for the trust, one was for the treasury. Now, a lot of people think when I say treasury, they think the treasury of the United States. It's not what it is. It's your family's treasury, your ancient family's treasury, however far back it goes. And when everybody came not just to America, but during that whole European war that took place between the 1400s to the 1600s, this system was not just indoctrinated here. It was in Australia, it was in South America, other parts of Europe, islands along the way. So the original Sesta Q, and it is actually still listed in London as not being able to close until a certain time. Well, we're actually coming up on that time, and once that closes, none of us can escape at all. So I think that's the clock we're fighting against. But in the London .uk.gov website about the SESTQ, it clearly states that you have a chance to. Oh, hold on. Sorry. So the SESTQ is you. You're the inheritor. You're the original heir. You want to be the SESTQ. You don't want to be the SESTQ via, and you don't want to be the SESTQ via Act of 1666. And you're no longer actually a slave. We volunteered to build back better. That's why they were saying it. Build back better, build back better. They destroy, so we get caught in the war, and when we come home, our homes are ravished, everything's gone. So we got to rebuild. So they have their worker bees come out, they're masons. Oh, let's build together. We can do this. And you become part of the labor force again and again and again and again. And that's kind of how they've been doing it since 1933. So it's a promissory note. So what you want to learn, it really is trust law, because the trust is how they keep us trusted in the labor force and the emergency powers. And if you fight, you can't get your estates back. So if I get arrested, I'm like, okay, sure, if you're going to kidnap my person, all right, let's do it, right? You can't fight them. If you fight them, they can lock you up because you're considered a terrorist, or you're considered the sovereign citizen, which is now labeled as terrorist. You want to be sovereign, but how do you get sovereign? You have to be the SESTQ. So you really got to dig back in history. And again, I didn't know this stuff until I did this process that I'm on right now. And you do have to go to a chancery court and prove that you're the heir. So you can't just walk into any chancery court. There's very few. There's one in London, which I would never go there because you think our courts are bad. That one's just run by the cabal. There are three. Huh?
I was going to say, is the other one in Delaware, or one of the other ones in Delaware?
Yeah, there's three in America. The one in Delaware, there's one in Tennessee, and then there's one in Louisiana. Now, here's my theory. I don't know for sure 100%. I don't have the proof, but the Templars told me I had to do mine in Tennessee. And so, but I was claiming, entitled lineage. So meaning any type of royal between the lady and lord and kings or queens, stuff like that, depending on what your title would have been had you not lost your family's estates. And they know what you were. Okay, I don't. You can find out, and eventually they'll tell you. But the Delaware one is for the corporations. They run the overseas, international, and domestic corporations. And then I do believe the one in Louisiana is for mystical creatures, like the fairies and the vampires, the werewolves, and anybody that is actually native to this planet. So if you find out that you have any of these bloodlines, you would file down there.
But otherwise, Tennessee, huh?
Otherwise, Tennessee. Yeah. So far, it has been Tennessee. But now there is a trick to it, and I can't tell anybody the trick until you do the Book of Life, and then you have to do a separate book called the Notice of Claim, which I know a lot of you have seen a Notice of Claim running around. But that Notice of Claim, actually, you surrender your stuff back to the government. The one that I was given, they surrender back to the heir. So, and then there's a third one that is called the pretty much Return My Shit. That goes to the commander-in-chief, which currently is Trump right now. And it doesn't matter who it is. And I have found actual SESTQs in the SEC files, like people who have gotten out of the system and what they put their amounts in there. But the thing is you don't know what your amount is. You are the inheritor of 29,000 at the least of inheritances that have been stolen since the 1600s. So, and
That's
they
a
have
lot
it
of
all documented.
it's a lot of money.
Well, you don't look at it for the money because it's just going to steer you wrong because they're going to come in and they're going to wheel and deal with you. They're very good at it. I may have lost a few people who did the Book of Life. Pretty much what it is your Book of Life, but it's a master estate trust. The Illuminati all have it. They all have them. These elites, that's the reason they're elites. They've done a Book of Life. But the last one that did the full Book of Life was Queen Elizabeth. Now, Queen Elizabeth was also part of splitting the Book of Life. That's why the Masons had the trust and the Templars had the treasury, because they split it so that way we couldn't fully ascend in this time. It was only half ascension, and you had to give your oath to somebody, either the Vatican or the Templars, which, I wouldn't have done either. I did work with the Templars, but, it was a very strained guidance, I assure you. We were threatening each other constantly. But yeah.
They were telling me while you were gone, Rusty and Shannon, about the Book of Life and what you've done with that, or that we should do it. And I'm interested. And Rusty said she'd pull together some resources and put them in the chat or send them to me, one of the two. But it seems like you're pretty far ahead on the research curve for this kind of thing. Do you, what can I say? What's like the best step for someone who hasn't corrected even their citizenship status, just to begin?
So the key is you have to be in to get out. So if you get out with these other things now, and again, I've done a lot of the other stuff. I've been in a lot of Patriot groups. I've tried the 1099s. I've tried the other stuff, and I actually, my actual treasury SESTQ is attached to one of my banks. But every time I try to pull money out of it, they just take it back. But they leave it in there. It's so stupid. I'm like, really? And it literally has my birth name on it. So, and I've gotten a black card during this process, but I did not activate the black card because it has hidden contracts. And I don't know how much I was going to get. Nobody could tell me. And they just said to activate it. So that says, you have to sign some things. So that's a contract, a hidden contract that says, I'm settling with this settlement, right? But that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to settle. I want my freedom. I want my estates. I want my God-given inheritance, right? Just because I don't know what it is doesn't mean, you get to pawn me off on a settlement and not show me what it is I'm the heir to. I knew some of what I was the heir to, but I have it now. Like, it's over 1 million acres worldwide. I'm an oil heiress, and here's a lot. The Mary Magdalene Treasury, which is in Iran, funny enough. And again, there are a lot of inheritors of that trust, but you have to be chosen. You have to be the heir. And I don't know what that looks like in the elites world. They control all the heirs. They know where all of us are at. I was hidden for a long time. It took the Templars quite a few months. I think about 4 or 5 months to find me. Because I wasn't
explain what
known.
the black card is to him? You were given the black card. To explain that to him?
There's a couple of different black cards, but basically it's supposed to be unlimited. And you can spend it anywhere, but you can never pull out the cash. It's like credits. It's just your credits off of your sweat equity and labor. It's not real money. They can take it away at any time. They monitor it. They put you in like absolute fear of taking your estates and everything. Anything you purchase with it, if you do anything to use that money against the government, they will take it all from you. So, but it is an unlimited card as long as you're a loyal individual. And a lot of people have taken the black card and, kind of found their way out of this whole matrix and are living whatever life that they can. They can be happy for sure. But you open yourself up to blackmail and other things. And there's always a payment for lading that they come for later. It might be your firstborn child, no matter how old they are.
So I guess maybe I missed it, but what would you suggest as the first step for someone who's not corrected their citizenship status?
I would trademark your name and get a TWIC card.
Trademark? Do you mean copyright?
No, trademark, register your birth certificate name.
But a trademark has to be associated with a brand.
Does it though? I mean,
You're
that's
saying-
what they want you to think.
You are your brand.
You are the
Okay.
brand. You're the company. It says it in your CESTQ, via. You are the corporation. I think I have one posted in this group. If you go into files, I do believe that I transferred one, and you can read it. I think it's a 63-year-old man. He died, so he was put on the SEC. It'll show you what he was worth, how much London got. It says the corporation of this name, so that's the brand. Your name is a brand. And when you turned 18, you were supposed to brand your name, but you didn't, so they did under abandonment laws. And then they handed you to the draft because they want you to go to war, for the chaos, to control the chaos or fight against it. So yeah, you definitely want to register your name.
Okay. I don't see it I don't see actually any of the files in the group, but I'll look.
Okay. I
She
can
Just because you have another group thread, he might be interested in looking at that. It might be overwhelming, so I'll help him and I'll put some of the threads. So I wrote these things down that he's looking for, so I'll remind you, Mary.
Okay. But yeah, it's not a bad thing not to have done it yet, but eventually you're going to have to choose, before the war starts, hopefully. If it starts. Hopefully it doesn't, but it might.
Yeah. Well, no time like the present, right?
It's when you're ready.
And it's one of there's the 3 files, or there's 5 files that I see investigating the CESTQ. Two of those actually. It's that one. Okay.
Well, that's the research I did on it when I went through this process that I'm doing now with the master estate. And that's why the elites are called masters. Even in the Masons, when you hit Master Mason 33, that's when they give them the master estate, but only the half master estate. Again, these guys aren't even out. They don't realize that they're just as much puppets as we are. They just get more benefits for being the bad guys, right? So yeah, and I do unfortunately come from the families, but I think that's why I know about a lot of it. I never took my oath. They tried to indoctrinate me when I was 17. And I ran out of the church because, I realized I was being married to Lucifer. I wasn't being baptized. So I was like, I love life.
Is that what baptism?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, the baptism is a promise of your reincarnation. So it just means you're coming back in the next life. That's in the esoterics. That's what they look at it. However, you guys want to look at it out here, that's fine. But I'm telling you, on the esoteric and the forbidden knowledge, it's your promise to reincarnate, and you will reincarnate under a specific church, like religion, whether it changes or not. So, um, yeah, that's what baptism is. But for individuals like myself who hold certain family lineage power, I guess, they try to make us and force us to marry like the old men or something. Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, because he's the king of the world right now. So he is the ruler, regardless of what anybody feels. It's Lucifer's kingdom. He has a contract with Creator. It's ending though, because the Jesus that was running around died either in 1999 or 2012, and that's why we're able to wake up, because they got to find the heir that holds the key to them being back in power. So that's why they're all interested in our lineage and all interested in our DNA, and they're making a big deal about the Jesus and Mary bloodline, which everybody is Jesus and Mary bloodline because they were part of the evolutionary genes. So somewhere down the line, we all connect, like Adam and Eve, we connect Jesus and Mary. So it just depends on who has the specific gene that stays in power or something. But yeah, if you want your individual freedom, this is the only one that I found that, hasn't had any serious backlash. But that you do get presented with some stuff. Like I said, I know some people took their book of life and made some financial deals with them. And you can, if that's all you want, the money, they'll exchange the money for your estates again. But your kids will pay for it later, your grandkids, stuff like that. But I had to see what happens when, people don't do it for ascension purposes. But everybody eventually will do a book of life. Or everybody will be in the quantum or in Anna von Ritz stuff, or it just depends on who gets there last or who gets chosen, I guess, to be the next world society. I have no idea. Haven't quite gotten to that part yet. But I do realize it's a race between who's going to be picked for the next new world setting. I don't want to say new world order, but the new world setting, and then there's going to be the other societies. So kind of like what they called the tribes, and now we're in societies, and eventually we're going to go to space, and they want to colonize Mars and everybody everywhere else, and they're going to do it using certain factions that they can control. So I guess if I was going to be a society with what I'm doing, it would be the Society of the Free People, because you just govern yourself. You don't have to be in any of the government stuff, and they have to give you back your estates. So can you lose them through war? Possibly, I suppose. But again, I'm not there yet, so I don't really know what happens to those who choose their creator, because I'm still in the exiting part. But it takes time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I've been doing it for 4 years, and I'm at the door of the last step, and the court is definitely fighting me. Did I get kicked out again? Oh, okay.
There's just so much to unpack.
It's a lot, and I went through a lot. I melted down when I did it. The first 6 months was difficult. I was like, what am I doing? And it was weird because everybody that I called, they didn't know how to help me because they didn't know what it was I was doing. I mean, I told them, but I didn't understand what it was I was doing in the beginning. It's a very spiritual battle when you do the Book of Life, because you're getting rid of the demons that haunt you. It feels like, they're going to come after you, but they don't. It's weird. It's definitely psychological of getting out of the 3D into the 5D. It's a mental thing, but spiritual. The Book of Job is the best way I can describe it. You are going to lose a lot of friends, maybe family, because a lot of them are your handlers. And once you do the Book of Life, they can't be in your life anymore because they can't handle you, literally.
So on that note, when you got kicked out, Mary, we were trying to explain it to them, and then, excuse me for not remembering exactly who was speaking. There were a couple of people speaking, and someone said something about, I think it was Shannon, about opening these doors to these entities, and this is where that whole process becomes a fight, because you're trying to get out of the process, and then these demonic people come in that were part of your, karmic wheel, and then they start to attack you, and you just have to learn how to get around that, which kind of circles me back to a question that I had. Somebody dropped in the, where is this now? I have Montauk in here. Someone individual wrote I think it was Shannon. Let me go look back at the thread. But they put in a PDF of a study of how I think the demonic enters into the body. So I feel bad, Justin, that we're telling you this is like, you're probably like, what the hell? There are so many other worlds, and what happens is when you're trying to leave the dead world itself, that's when all those entities come in. But somebody put in some project.
Did I lose you, Rusty?
Mm, she's still
Rusty,
here. I
you
think
got
she muted.
muted.
Yeah, she's muted.
I end up muting myself because
Oh.
I was looking for the page. Hold on one second. Let me tell you
Okay.
though, because like I said, I go like tooth and nail through this thing, and I love what everybody writes. And I also want to circle back to it because I think it's important, because this week I was talking about that to people, about the spiritual world that we are really, fighting for, to get out of. And the other thing, I was going to make fun of you, Mary, with that cute picture on March 22nd. I saw that.
Which
Here
one?
it is. Your military picture.
Short hair.
Oh,
Short
I know,
hair one.
right? It's like the one day the girls got to wear makeup. It was so funny. I didn't even have lipstick. This chick had like, I don't know how these girls came in with all this makeup. I didn't come in with any makeup
Hey,
when we
look
were in
good.
boot
All right.
camp. And yeah, bright pink. I'm like, I never wear pink, but they said I could, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear it.
Just so you know, I kept that picture. It's in my gallery, my pictures, so we're going to have that one. Deborah Coates put it in. Is she here right now? Because I'd love for her to, I didn't read through it, but I just kept seeing, I scanned through and it said demonic stuff. So I'm curious about how anthropic parasites, it's a study of how it gets into our system, which I thought was interesting, because I spoke of these demonic entities that are part of the system when you understand how you're connected to the source, Is she on right now? Or is she off? She didn't come to this one. Oh, she's not on it here. But she put in a PDF of that, and I find it really interesting because I love studies and I like diagrams and equations because, I believe in that system. But nothing's a coincidence, since that was my research and study of this week. So I don't look at these posts until Friday night or in the morning, and then I'll start to get my own personal downloads. But yeah, that's in the threads right now.
About Montauk or?
No, the individual's name who did the study his last name is Montauk, which is so weird.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but the PDF is about parasites in the other worlds. That's how I took it, and I haven't, for me, I would print this and then I would research it and break it apart to see what I believe in, what I don't believe in. But I'm going to tell you, like, physics, I love physics. And this is why I was reading. It's a study from what's happening to the body and where the demonic entities kind of enter. it's kind of a conversation like that. But you'd have to look at it. So I didn't print it out because I just saw it this morning.
Okay.
She's not on the thread, so I would love for her to explain it.
Hi, everybody. Russi, you did a great research on Montauk, and I think that has a lot to do with it, like having no fear when you're up there or picking up parasites, like to be in bliss.
Gee, thanks. You know why? I mean, I'm telling the group itself. The reason why I got obsessed with it is because, I live in Long Island. I don't know, people don't realize, and I work in Vegas. And I'm also a reader, or seer, or whatever you want to call that. And I read these two women that were hijacked in their sleep. And then I got like, that can't be true. Because, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't believe in half the stuff that I say. But I'm joking in the sense that I'm like, all right, now I do believe in it. And obviously I, do psychic readings and stuff like that. But I visited Montauk because I live, on the island. And there are a lot of things that are going on right now that people don't even realize they're affected from the time that they were little. And like I said, I had 2 readings of women that I don't even know that were definitely hijacked in the middle of the night. And that's the reason why I'm now reading the book to explain to people how it all works with vibration and what the system is all about. So it's the Montauk Project, the experimental. It's like a very easy book. It's like 93 pages. They explain the whole background, but it's connected. Why I keep bringing it up, it's with like Stranger Things, but Stranger Things never talked about the sexual abuse and the murders. So now if you listen to Ark, I don't know if you've listened to him, Chili, he's one of those Montauk survivors, and he's just blasting everything, but everything is so perfectly placed for me because he mentioned something about, Preston Nichols, who's the guy who was one of the kind of the leaders of abusing these children.
Yeah, he is going off on a tangent, isn't he?
Yeah, so I send the video to Mary, and Mary starts this whole whirlwind because I'm like, he's going to get this video taken off. So she sends it to the podcaster, and then Art gets on the podcast, and I'm like, this is like a whole circle of craziness. But it was so important for that to come out.
Isn't that where everything started, though? Like Montauk, and then, like Artichoke, Pegasus, they shut it down. And even you, Russi, being there from, like, where were you born? It's like, why would the creator take you there? And I studied like the project that they did, and they said they even brought in an entity, and like when they shut it down, and there was like some Draco named Charlie ahead of the whole program, and it took like forever for that entity to disappear because they were opening up like little portals, like you said, the Stranger Things stuff. Like when you watch those films, it's almost like you open up portals. And then you go to Las Vegas. It's like, why did you go to Las Vegas? Another node. And that's why I think the soul mechanics that, I've never left my body. I have been kind of dead once, but I don't have recollection. And I think it's important to have like at least soul mechanics that if you are up there, catch yourself up there to be just in bliss. Because the moment you have that fear, I think you just like you lose the connection or something.
Yes, I completely, totally agree with the losing your connection of the fear. Because people ask me all the time about, like, why did you even go to Vegas? I'm like, because God told me. So my connection with my prayers and all that stuff, they're like, what do you mean God told you? I'm like, he gave me the vision. He gave me, and I'm going to go visit. And I did, and that's the reason why. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, as much as people think I'm crazy for doing, what I do, but it's everybody's dreams. You just have to follow the path, and then move on. And like, what's the reason of us meeting Mary? Because we were at this like brink. Me and Chili were at a brink, and all of a sudden Chili introduced me to Mary, and then everything just kind of fell into place.
Remember when you went to Nevada and you saw the pyramids? Oh, that was so cool. I don't mean to, like, if you ever want to share that, that would be cool. Mary, thank you so much for providing clarity and those crazy stories, and see where we fit in and how we seem to be getting sorted out.
Thanks. I'm still trying to fit in. I don't know where, but you know.
Well, it's interesting. You said once, like, I know more about what goes on out there than I do here. And we're trying to sort it, like, maybe from another area, like from a tribal sense, or like Rusty's name is Villa Alta, which is the high village, and she was born with this gift, just like all her family. I come from a RH negative family, being born under different circumstances, and we're just trying to find out and remember who we are. So when you guys had that conversation last week, and I listened, like, it took me like the whole week to just finish it. And when you're talking about the languages, that's like, I'm trying to sort it out between the Phoenician, the Ophanium, Enochian, Enoch language kind of stuff, and how they used to get out with the stargates, and it's almost like you have an upper echelon compared to Ashanadeans, which says that the original language was, I think, Anahazi, and somebody else, like with the Ka, with the K instead of it's like the Ka Ra Isa Ta, is that Lemurian? And to open the stargates, the angelic languages, it's like, but don't be fooled, because there's imposters and imposter languages, I guess. And I'm just trying to learn it all, because I think it's all soul mechanics and implosion, looking within, getting that like repenting means something else to me now. It's like finding your core, mind, heart cohesion, and the physics behind it, and how everything out there seems to be tuned to plump. And different, you have to, like, take in count pi, phi, 1.61, etc. So it's like, to me, it's all beautiful. It's a beautiful song that we're trying to find again.
Well, not really in a spoken language. The gates don't open with language, from my understanding. It's just you put your hand on it. You're the frequency. It activates when you walk up to it.
Holographic technology, that you have to have the genome to see the symbols and everything.
Holographic, I mean, holographic is just an illusion. The gates are real. It's gonna port you. I mean, if you jump through a holographic, you're probably gonna jump off a cliff, and that's not gonna feel very good. The portals they're not really holographic. They're dimensional. It's the space between time. That's how you get through the star maps, like the real star maps.
Is it ancient Phoenician? Is it ancient Phoenician?
Well, I don't think the heavens would have had me write a final judgment against the cult of Baal if it wasn't a proper language. It's not the only language. The ancient Phoenicians were here. The ancient Sumerians were here. So, okay, in the series of my workbooks that I have on the planets that are in my my webpage, my Adona of Soul webpage, Pluto is in there, and it's not really a star and it's not really a planet. It's referred to as both, but it's the beacon for the authentic God consciousness. Every galaxy has one of these, and how our galaxy got taken over in the first place by the occupation was they had a Mach echo frequency. And if you could Google echo all day long, and it's everywhere because it's echoing the original God consciousness, and that's how they were able to slip through and take over each planet until we were all cattle driven here to Earth. So that's kind of what the languages are doing. That's why we're in a duality. So the proper English that we're speaking is Old English that needs to be spoken because we've created more meanings and more sounds and everything else to the English language that is extremely unnecessary. But it's how we communicate to the language of the times. Everything that has any kind of magical properties or alchemy, whatever you guys want to call it, it's DNA activated. It belongs to the DNA. That's why they care about the DNA. They're not going to kill the people that have a weak strand of DNA because they need them to activate these gates. They say, oh, you're going to go out the gates because you're going to have somebody like me to have to open the gate. One of the gates. I don't know which one. I don't know what number 54 gate has, but I know that I opened a gate there when I was in the military. So there's no illusion. The illusion is over our eyes. The real world, you can't see it. We can't see it. We see the mirage, the illusion. But the gates are real. That's why we are afraid to jump in them, because we no longer have the sight to see what's on the other side. Does that make sense?
Totally. Like the veil. And how
Correct.
maybe they used other languages. I remember in Ashana Dean's story too, like they were using like an angelic, like something similar to get out, and that had to be stopped, and therefore that's why everybody else fell. I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense because there are slip knots. And even like in that movie Stargate, it's Ophanium Enochian, but they had to actually like get the Yiddish, like Aramaic and Hebrew together to say like Yodve, Hudve in the right way to open up the portal. You know, and that whole movie is like Ophanium Enochian, the symbols. I don't know, it's like a pre-Greek. But it makes total sense. Like we said before about Thoth, it's like, you know, instead of demonizing or whatever, you know, it's kind of like, but maybe there's a step above all the knowledge, like the forbidden knowledge, like there's also a step above.
Well, again, I don't know why Stargate would because in the military base of that movie where they had that one Stargate, they didn't talk to the Stargate. They ran frequencies against it to open it by putting in certain sequences into the computer, which was running certain hums and sounds and vibrations. Because, I mean, a gate's not going to open because you talk to it unless you're like a wizard or something. But even then, it's just a gesture of a hand, because with stuff like that, it's through telepathy. So telepathy doesn't have a spoken language; it's a vibration. So maybe they're trying to tell you guys to use a certain language. You know, maybe you're opening certain portals to demonic realms. I have no idea. I would not speak to a portal. You know, a big old giant grasshopper might grab me or something. Fuck that. Remember, the jinn helped bring this to knowledge to people so that they could actually access our bodies through whatever their hell loop looks like, I guess you could say. Their eternal void of existence.
They require payment, so if you give them a payment, like you make contract kind of.
What, the jinn?
Yes.
Well, their whole purpose is to obtain your body, because they were a failed species. They were given cosmic powers, and they used them to try to take out the original gods, like the mega gods. Just kind of like what's happening currently, because a lot of the people are possessed with ancient jinn. Again, genie, whatever you want to call them. They're very real, but they're a spirit, a failed spirit, because again, the gods can't destroy their own children, so they just kind of shove them into a void of existence, and they don't know they're dead, they don't know they're alive. They're just existing. So, what?
Mary, hey, sorry, I have a question real quick, just because I've heard from some other experienced people about jinn. I just want to get your opinion on this, or what you know. All right, can these entities eat your soul? I mean, like, that's what they're telling us.
No, they can't eat your soul. However, your soul is what's driving your physical body. Okay? Your soul is an anchor to your spirit. So what a jinn can do is they can possess your soul and your vessel, and they put it in what's called a spiritual cage, which is it's kind of like the tesseract cage. So when I see people, I can see their caged soul. It's like a child sitting in a cage, and depending on where you're at in your life, you could be in the way far back of that cage, hiding with your face, in a cradled position. You can be in the middle out of curiosity, or you could be reaching out, screaming for help. It just depends on what the physical body and the soul have been through. But no, they can't eat your soul. I mean, I'm a redhead, and my son likes to joke around that he's going to eat my soul. And then he's like, "Oh, I forgot you don't have one." And I'm like, "Really, dude?"
That's funny. Oh,
You know
well,
what I
that's a
mean?
cool explanation of it.
Yeah, so
And
no, they
so
can't eat
how,
your soul, but they can definitely shove you in the back end of your spiritual, physical part, yeah, in your consciousness.
okay. And so how would one break free of something like this?
You don't, once you give permission.
Mm.
Somebody, I would say you would have to be taken to a very powerful magi of some sort to break that bond. But they can't do it without your permission. So you just have to be extremely careful. So because they're tricky. I mean, they're intelligent, very intelligent, and that's why these elites were like interested in them because they did know a lot of information and they could show them where the hidden treasures were because they knew. They had been on this world before, but they did not graduate to leave the planet. They perished as a failed species. So their physical bodies were destroyed, but their souls or spirits were put in the void. A void. And that void was ripped into because of dark magic.
Interesting. So there's some that are saying this is one of the greatest things that we're still fighting here right now, that they're not telling humanity because they don't want to put us in they're calling it hazardous information, even though most religions know about it, but I don't know.
With the jinn?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they're veered as gods. I mean, anything that has knowledge is veered as a god. I mean, I do get curious to sit with very intelligent people who are in the secret societies, and some of them really just like to talk about what they know. They're not really interested in a lot of what the others do. There's different classes of the elites. Not all of them eat babies. It just depends on some of them you can't. They're human. So humans can't actually eat blood. We get very sick and die. The elites that we're talking about are not they're not humanoid. They are a human base or a reptinoid base. So they do eat other people and they don't get sick. But actual humanoids can't eat other humans without consequences, and you would know right away. So that goes into the treaties of Antarctica between the lizard species or whatever species eats humans. They're allowed to eat a certain amount of us in those treaties, a million in each country, to sustain their populations in order to not fight their species. And uh, it's how we all, I guess, live under this dome
I have one more
without killing
question.
each other. Huh?
You just made me think of something else. I have just one more question. Speaking of that, well, what are your thoughts about them putting human meat in our food?
Is it really human meat though? I mean, it is a plethora of different things, but again, it wouldn't be more than I would say. I do understand, and my son does talk about it when we drive by McDonald's. He's like, what does he call it? He's like, oh look, it's the human factory food. um, I guess you can eat a certain amount, but you can't drink blood. I don't think it's human in that meat. I think it might be their own offspring because lizards have hybrids. The insectoids have hybrids here. So are we eating the hybrids or are we really eating the human? because we're a soft tissue, so I don't imagine them wasting a lot of our food, our skin, and our body and whatnot. And if you've ever owned a leather jacket, it was more than likely a human jacket. So you know, it's not just the red shoes. Because we have a tough skin apparently. But it's like hot dogs. They throw everything in there. And humans were also made for mortar, so it's not just the green goo, we're put in everything. They say horses is where glue comes from, but again, we share DNA with the horses and the dogs and the cats on the planet. So if horses are used for glue, they could process humans as glue as well, or they just throw us in acid tanks. I've seen the acid tanks, unfortunately, and that's terrible.
Pig is sliced with human, right? It's like the original boar, Pumbaa.
Yeah, a pig is a human hybrid, yeah. If you look into their eyes, you can see the human eyes. They have different colors. If you look into a wild boar, they have the brown eyes. That tells you it's a beast. So that's why the Jews won't eat pork, but they'll eat boar. 100%. They eat boar because it's a beast. It's a wild animal. So,
Is that the same with the bison? Because I know a lot of vegetarians get fixed just like with a cube of original species meat because it has the enzymes. Because they're so deficient in the enzymes. But is that the same thing with the buffalo or, the bison hamburgers we buy? Because they're crossed with the cow, supposedly. But is it the same? Because that story of the white buffalo always gets me.
what's the story about the white buffalo?
Well, I think it's a mistold story, like you said before, within the species, like when there's a white buffalo born, it's like a sign, versus something else.
I mean, the prophecies?
Well, maybe in the genetics too, that like albinos are born, they're almost angelic, but at the same time, like cursed and persecuted.
Well, it just depends on who it is. Yeah, they'll probably, like anything white born in Africa, they usually sacrifice it to the gods for a peaceful whatever. I don't know if we kill the albino animals here. We usually try to cage them up and show them off. I don't know what that looks like. I do know in ancient Europe, they would kill in a hunt, they would kill the prophetic albino animal because it was a sign of good fortune or something. So it just depends on the culture. I know it's illegal to be an albino in some parts of Africa. Like if you're born through an African family, they'll try to run to a country where it's not illegal. So, I mean, it just depends on who you're talking to, I guess. The story of the white buffalo actually goes back to the clans, and it's not just the white buffalo. It's all things white. And right now, because of social media, we're seeing all of the albino animals, having been born. There's quite a few that are being born right now. Did I drop off?
No, we're
No.
listening.
Okay. I have to ask because it gets quiet. If I could just bring my phone out here, it'd be fine. But every time I get on here, it drains my battery. It's so funny. The bird is chirping. Do you hear it?
Yes.
I have crows and other things out here and hawks too that come screaming by. And a little bat that precariously flies over.
Whereabouts are you?
Northern California in the Sierra Mountains.
Cool. I worked over there a year and a half ago.
Nice. So it is a fun time. You guys just have to find a way to survive the reset. I think the family lines that we can't find the past to, those might have been like where they got reset. I can go back pretty far in some of mine now.
Mary, in addition to trademarking one's name, what other general advice do you have for people
You
to?
have to trademark the birth certificate name, or you have to get a doing business as a DBA of your birth certificate name, and it actually says it on there in the Minnesota one. I don't know if you've done that, but it does say the living person, like on it.
Are you saying that because I'm from Minnesota and you happen to remember that?
No, I said it because that was the only one that has your living being on it.
Really?
It's good to know. Yeah.
Wait, so I don't have to do that because I'm from Minnesota?
No, you do have to do it because you're in the system.
Wait, so what is special about being from Minnesota then?
It's the only certificate of the DBA that actually has the writing that you're a living being.
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. You can do it anywhere, but it's always nice because you have these sleepwalkers, walking around like cops, and they're like, oh, that doesn't say anything, right? But if you have a document that proves it, that you're the living vessel, or, whatever the verbiage is, it's been a minute. But yeah, anything that says you're living, because right now we're all a bunch of zombies wandering around, confused and lost. So you're not getting out of the system. You're getting out of the war of the worlds, whatever that looks like to anybody, and you're reclaiming what your original inheritance is. You could be like the king of Mars. Nobody knows. You know what I mean? So you might not belong to this planet because we're all been, cattle driven down here.
So, number one, get a trademark of your birth certificate name. Number two, get a DBA of your birth certificate name.
Mm-hmm. And then you get an EIN of your birth certificate name.
Okay.
And a TWIC card.
And a TWIC card, because when the Templars first approached me, after the Masons had approached me, they said I needed to have some type of immunity going into all these government buildings, and I didn't know what that looked like. And I think it was my friend Fiona, and I was talking to her about it, and she was like, oh, I think it's the TWIC card. So we got into the conversation about the TWIC card, and it had been presented to me a few times before, but I didn't know what it was for, right? I was like, oh, I don't want to get any more into the government than I've already been in, right? So, but when I had talked to the Templars and I told them, I was like, well, what about this, TSA TWIC card? And they were like, yes, that's it for your country. So, and I was like, well, what does it do? And they said it allows me to, go into the government buildings without being detained, harassed, or, anything like that. And so I was skeptical, like really skeptical. So my friend Jeanette and I went and got our TWIC cards. She got hers like in 3 days, and mine took like 90 days. But it was really funny how, and I would call like every 6 weeks or so, or a couple weeks, and just be like, hey, I just want to get a status. And I would get these emails, and one email said that there was something going on, and that they had to send my application to an outside government source. And I'm like, tell me you just sent that to Area 51 without telling me you just sent that to Area 51. So it was, and I have it printed out, so because I would make sure that email didn't disappear. And then it was like a week after that, it said due to other circumstances, we had to send it back to the FBI for reapproval from the other government source. And I'm just shaking my head like, is this real? Is this really happening? Like, they literally are sending it back to the FBI for approval. And I was on the watch list because I was coming out on James Rink stuff, just talking about stuff. So I was definitely pegged by the FBI, to be a threat. And then all of a sudden that just disappeared. And now I have this TWIC card, this immunity of some sort. And I'm like, okay. So Jeanette and I went and we were just testing it out on military bases, government buildings, just walking around like, oh, we're going to try this out. And I can tell you, I was like, I've never seen military move faster than, when you go on there, you don't see them. And then all of a sudden you see them and they're running around looking busy because they don't know who you are. They don't know who you work for. I was like, whoa. I was like, this is a trip. And then and I wear mine just around my neck everywhere I go. And I only take it off when I go to sleep because I don't know if somebody's going to try to bust into my house, and when we're in public, cops kind of walk the other way as if they don't see me.
Just
So
because of the TWIC card?
Yeah, it has a certain level of immunity on it. Yeah.
Huh.
So, but as long as you're in peace. Now, if you're fighting with them, then you void your own immunity. So you can't talk, certain ways. You can't use the sovereign tones. You literally just, hey, I'm not here. I'm not trespassing. Da 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 da. And my friend Jeanette and I got slammed up against the court window once by 2 deputies. And, it was crazy. And I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. And it was because the clerk signaled to them because I was like, look, if I have to get the military up here, you're not going to like it. And then, boom, we were up against the wall. And she's like, Jeanette was like, I'm going to call, the sheriff. So she's trying to call the actual sheriff of the town. And, and I was like, wait a minute. I looked at her and I was like, hey, I asked to come in here in peace. I'm like, I have business I got to do. And she was like, she told me to shut up. Nobody's talking to you. So I looked at her supervisor and I said, look, I was like, I just have some business to do. And he's like, well, does she have to be here? Meaning Jeanette. And I was like, yeah, she's my federal witness. They took 2 steps back because they saw my TWIC card. And then they saw hers because she pins hers down a little bit lower on her belt, but I keep mine around my neck. So it was a little strange. So you
Wow.
just have to learn to talk to them the right way. And it's hard because a lot of times we want to say, oh, you're against my constitutional rights. They don't care about your rights. They care that you're coming in peace and you're trying to get out in a peaceful way because they're just as afraid of us as we are of them. And I know that sounds ridiculous because they have bigger guns and stuff, but really think about it. They're outnumbered by millions of people, and they're trying to fix it, but not everybody's going to be on board, right? So everybody's going through a strange process. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I believe transitions should be easier than they are, but not really. There's so many different personalities out there, and everybody wants to rule the world for some reason. So, I mean, what does that look like? Do we want to be ruled by the reptilians? Obviously not. We've been ruled by them for about 30 years now, and that shit sucks. Bless you. That was my son.
Now,
So,
Elena Danaan claims that they have been expunged from our solar system as of October of 2021. What do you say to that claim?
no, nobody's getting out right now. Elon Musk has not sent a rocket out. None of us are getting out because we're full of parasites, and those guys are fallen angels or demons or whatever you want to call them. Ever since the fall of Atlantis, we do live on a globe, okay? It is round, but we're in the Northern Kingdom. So if you look at a table and you see a little spider or something and you put your cup over it real quick, that's what happened. God was like, y'all are staying here till you figure it out, right? Because all we were doing was war after war after war, and it was seeping into the other dimensions, other ice walls. This is a multi-dimensional planet. It's 12 dimensions. So imagine a round ball with 11 lines, either mountains or ice. Those are all the different dimensions. So we are in the Northern Kingdom, and we were at one point governing Middle Earth. And I've talked about what Middle Earth was in a few podcasts back. And, when the invader races and everybody came in, it was just nonstop war because somebody got a hold of the crystals and somebody gave power to the Monday, which are the demons, because they're not shadow demons. They're actual humans, beings, non-magical beings that come from every single race. Karmic debt can be punishable by taking your abilities away. Kind of like in the movie Harry Potter, where, you see these muggles being born through powerful people. Muggles are a demon because they have no magic. Magic is just alchemy. Magic is a gift that you were given during your creation. But if you abuse it, it's taken away because you have to be humble with powers. You can't hurt innocent people. So in your next life, in your reincarnation, they can take it away as punishment. And I don't know, somebody before the fall of Atlantis decided that the Monday needed to have charge of the magical information, and that was the worst thing ever to do. So, and that was the Ark of the Covenant, what was left of it anyways. And that's why we're here today, because they got every creature's or being's information that lived here, and anybody that scared them with magic was a threat. So they slowly learned how to wipe us all out, and now we're all reincarnated with no magic, or bound if we are born with magic. That's why witches and warlocks work in the hospitals. They bind you if you're born with magic or powers or anything like that, through vaccines or cutting your foot. There's a lot of different processes. Vampires, they can do mind control on you and make you think you're an illusion of somewhere else. Lots of different things.
So you're convinced that the reptilians still are here on the Earth?
Yeah, we're all stuck here until we figure it out, or we all die. That's the end of it. So when I talked to one of Trump's generals after I sent Trump my books to exit this matrix, he didn't deny anything that I asked him. I said, look, I know that there's a lot of invader races, and I know there's an occupation that rules over us. I was like, but y'all gotta go. Like, you can't live here anymore. But whether you believe me or not, the world is about to change. If you thought the flood was bad, you're gonna not want to live around here when the next cataclysmic world thing happens, because it's gonna be fire, which means molten lava, and it's gonna be everywhere. And the only ones escaping are the ones in the other dimensions, not here. We're not gonna escape. Nobody's getting out. And he didn't deny anything I said. He said, I don't find you belligerent at all. He's like, I've read, everything you put in there. And I gave them an offer to go home. It wasn't my offer. It was the heavens offering, free passage to all the species on the planets to return, or on this planet to return back to their quadrants, their galaxies, their planets. But everybody has to be free. And we have to be free of the parasites. We have to not be in the book of the dead, because we're not technically living, but we're not dead. Because we gave our spirit, we separated our spirit and our soul. Our spirit is trapped in the spirit realm. Our soul is trapped in some kind of contract at the Vatican, through the blood that they took from our foot at birth. Yeah, they've got us all. That's why we're wandering around here with amnesia. We're all split. We have the Trinitarian split of consciousness. So because we're elevating, a lot of people are able to heal from that, and they're getting their memories back, but in pieces. Because a little bit as we ascend upward, we start to remember. But those that can't remember are malfunctioning. Like they're turning to alcohol or drugs or straight up insanity. So, and those ones aren't going to make it. I don't think all of them will make it. So 5 to 10% of the world's population will unfortunately pass away. But it used to be a higher number. And now it's not, because enough of the world said, I want to ascend. I want to be in a higher consciousness. I want to live.
So when is this Holocaust going to happen that you're talking about?
It's already happening right now. You just can't see it.
Oh,
Ever wonder where the homeless are going?
no, I don't hardly see any.
Right.
You know, that sort of, but
Where'd they go?
I don't know.
So
So,
in
I'm only gonna.
Obama's plans, he wrote that so there's 863 FEMA camps in America. A lot of them you can see, some of them you can't see. Again, they all look like they're underground because they are underground this time. And he said rotatively, everyone will process 22,000 inmates a month in America alone. Now, Australia has some FEMA camps too. I think Europe has some in some locations, South Africa. But the most of them are here. And so what it means, 22,000 rotatively means you go in, but you're not coming out alive. So they could literally process 8-point-something million people in 1 year.
and the parasites that you're speaking about, are you talking about physical parasites in our bodies and our blood?
Yeah, in your skin, in your eyes, everywhere.
And how do we get rid of those? What would you suggest?
They have some parasite cleanses. Be careful. Some of them are stronger than others. I actually had a full-on seizure because I wanted to get rid of the brain parasite that we have. Don't try to go after your brain parasite. That one does need to be done through a chamber or med bed because just the slightest wiggle and it could kill you with that particular parasite. The Amish cleanses are pretty good. There's dog parasite cleanses. You can use those. Most of those were actually made for kids back in the 70s, for farm kids. I know because I was a farm kid. So now they give them to dogs instead of humans. Yeah,
What about like chlorine dioxide?
I've tried that. I didn't think it was very effective.
Okay.
But it depends on the person, right? It might work for you. But I have tried that. Sorry. So, yeah, there's lots of information you can find online for that stuff.
Yeah, I took one. It was another cautionary tale. I tried to do one in July, and boy, it knocked me on my ass. I'm usually an energetic, robust person, but during that cleanse, it was such an effort to even get up and move around. I had never, ever in my life been that on my ass before, even when I was food poisoned or really, vomiting or whatever.
Well, you might have a lot inside you because they release a chemical that tries to get you to stop taking the parasite stuff. It's their defense against you from trying to kill them.
Yeah, well, they must have been releasing a lot of it, or I have a lot of parasites. I don't know.
What did you do? What cleanse did you do that took you completely out?
It's called the Parify Ultimate, I think it was, from Rogers Hood Apothecary. It was supposed to be a fairly gentle one, but I followed it pretty closely, and boy, did it knock me out. And I had vasovagal sensitivity for months following. It was not good, not pleasant.
Yeah, that's one of the better ones out there too, because I believe it's got binders in it and it naturally supports the systems that you're relying on too. So I'm kind of surprised by that. I haven't taken that one personally, but I have looked into it. So thanks for the cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Some of them are natural, like everything from clove to apricot to apple seed. The amygdalas, the B17, castor oil. but the other ones are pharmaceutical. Like I tried to do a second clean myself, and man, it wasn't pretty. My also my diet wasn't good, and I had a couple of beers, and it's like the pressure just dropped. It was a lot, and it's like you got to do slow. The MMS is, I think, more for the water, like in your system to purify your water, but the parasite clean goes for like what's in the rocks, you know, and it takes a while, but there is a natural, and even like the ivers and the fenbendazole, the fenbendazoles, they all come from natural, but they've synthesized it, to get them to the mass, like I think people, because not everybody has a tree or willow tree, or hydrochloroquine actually comes from a bark, but kind of like grapefruit, so that's a whole study, and it's all good. It's all good. I've noticed it's all good, but the pharmaceuticals tend to be, I think, a little rougher on your body.
Well, and don't forget that parasites move the week before a full moon and the week after the full moon. And other than that, they're in the linings of your organs. So maybe it's best to get them when they're on the move and not in your organs. Maybe try that. See when you took that parasite cleanse and see if that had a factor in it for you.
And they hide behind soft metals. They hide behind the metals. So you also got to do a metal clean, like with the zeolite.
Correct.
Something I was told, but I can't back it up through experience. I've taken it. Is I heard from a mystic in India. They said to take neem and turmeric together. They never admitted that it was a parasite cleanse, but when you look at the information of it, they said that you'll never get cancer and you'll never be sick if you take these two things every single day. But you got to find obviously pure raw supplements. So
Right,
that
and
might be
India is
something.
actually one of the biggest producers of 100% food grade medicine. I found out from a gal that used to be a doctor in America. She lost her license because she was curing Down syndrome with natural medicines, and so she went to Canada, where they were more open to it. And I did the first parasite cleanse with her. And I about died because I thought she was crazy, to be honest, but she was actually extremely cool. And so I took this stuff to supposedly get these tapeworms out of me, and it was like the worst experience ever. I panicked. I was going to poison myself to death just to kill the parasites because I saw them come out of me, and it was like, yeah. I can say that I was a paranoid schizophrenic at that time, anything related to parasites, because they were dead, but they had all tangled up, and they were all black, and they came out in the toilet one day. And I called her in a panic and was like, "Did you forget to tell me something?" And so I told her what happened. She's like, "Oh, that's wonderful." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's real."
Mary, I love
So,
that you shared the trees, the 6 trees, and how even the bugs may want to bite you because they're trying to get to the parasites.
yeah, they want
Like
to get
there
the
are
parasites out of you.
already.
Could you repeat those two ingredients that you just said? Who said that? Neem and something else?
Turmeric.
I think she's
Yeah. Could you?
Yeah, but
activating.
mostly neem, NEEM.
I think black pepper does the same thing because you have to activate the turmeric. So you have the so that's why when you make the turmeric, you boil the water with the ginger-like substance. It's yellow. It taints everything, and you got to cross it with black pepper is also a cannabinoid. So I thought, well, instead of using black pepper, can you use CBD oil? That would be a good mix, to activate the turmeric. So maybe neem does the same thing. It just activates it and it makes it more soluble. Like as a burn and as a chef, you use French's mustard, to cure all your burns. Like even people that have like my skin was on the oven, and French's are great value because the dyeing agent is turmeric, but it has capsium, which is from the mustard seed, and it takes like 90% of the pain away. If you ever have a kid that burns himself, or you do it yourself, because if you put ice on it, as soon as you take the ice off, you're still in pain. It does nothing for the burn. The next day you'll have a scab with that French's mustard.
Mm. Yeah, I think the neem is the cleansing factor. That it cleans your blood and everything.
Mhm.
And it's a very powerful tree. It like comes from a tree.
Okay, you're totally being recorded right now. Say hi. Hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm Mary's son, and I'm asking when I get paid. Now the world's gonna know. I should be on a call. Saturday, there's a time that I go on a call between 12 and 3. You guys know this. I've been doing it for weeks now.
Can we circle back to something that I questioned? I'm sorry. Am I cutting someone off? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Was he going
Go
to
ahead.
speak? I always think like, who's that man you're hanging out with, Mary? And it's like, that's my son. I'm like, what?
I know, he looks like a 36-year-old, but he's only 15. Ew, Dylan, yeah.
I just wanted to
Oh,
circle back
Dean.
to Elaine Denon. Chili could bring that up. I
Oh,
think
yeah, we
Justin
didn't get to
questioned
that,
like,
did
yeah, well, no, you did. You answered it, but I just think that's interesting because I never liked her and never wanted to take any time to listen to her, although I did at one point, and then just said, one video could just do it. And I'm like, this lady, I don't trust. Bottom line,
I'm
Chili
not.
comes back to me with
She's
stuff.
a witch. She like spell casted my eyeballs. I actually can't watch her stuff anymore. Yeah. Sorry, I'm killing mosquitoes with my new thing. That one took a minute.
Yeah, I believe she casts spells all the time, and that she gave that love potion number 9 to certain people, and then they just got,
Oh
totally
gosh, yeah,
enamored
that's
with that.
horrible.
Yeah, and then Michael Sala then just kind of blew her spot up and said, she's not saying the right information. I'm only bringing it up
Right.
because Justin did bring something up about it, and that's what led into those conversations. And then Chili is a big fan of Winters, and so I'm just kind of closing the end on that conversation.
Yeah,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna there was a rift in the community when she came in, and a lot of people didn't have a good feeling, but she was sharing a lot of good information. Like, and something happened, and then with all the astro travelers and people that are maybe in a higher source, they were like, there's an imposter here, and it's no bad energy, no judgment. We think we know who she is, or she's got a chip in her head, and supposedly the Torthans and the Mitra, like she was even saying like the Negamat were like good. These are the ones in Independence Day. So there's a lot of imposters up there when I think you get into astral, and Dan Winters had all the super soldiers, and he's just trying to simplify things to an electrical or physics, but he got enamored himself, and he was like, he's just setting the record straight, like, you guys are being like just lied to, and they're using the wrong sequences, like the Monroe Institute, and the golden meme is maybe not a bad thing, and it's like trying to simplify things, but everybody's maneuvering like information. Even the guy that bilocated, Charles, Moyan, he was like at first, they documented and everything, how his brain went to alpha, beta, gamma. They document, and what they saw, on computer with, all the scans, it was like, wow, this like matches up to the symbols that even Mary shares. It's like, yeah, it's all about the spiritual journey, and from near death to out of body, how we're born, how can we simplify this? But everybody's kind of been tricked at one point or another. I know I have many times, and I'm just trying to make it through.
I had no idea that she did that to your eyes, Mary. We never talked about that.
Oh yeah, so I had given Dr. Salas some information about the arcs, because my friend um sent me one of her videos, and he's like, or one of his videos about the arcs, and he was like, "Do you know anything about the arcs?" So I watched the video on Dr. Sala and JP, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know about the arcs." I was like, so I sent him an email, and I was like, "Hey, if you're talking about these arcs, the ones that you think are in the Bible or whatever," I was like, "Can you ask JP if he's seen this language?" And I literally put a passage of ancient Phoenician in there, and I think like a week later, he emailed me back, and JP confirmed that that's one of the languages in the arcs. So he wanted to talk, and I think we talked like an hour and a half, 2 hours one day, and then my same friend sent me the video of her talking live about everything I told him. Now I'm not mad at him at all. You know, he wanted me on the show, and I couldn't get on the show because at the time I didn't have my military information, and he's very, you know, strong advocate for vetting people, and I totally get that. And I'm like, well, you know, this is all I've got that, you know, can prove my military service, or you can call these people. So I gave him SOCOM's number and a couple of other people. I was like, but do be careful. People usually disappear when they start asking about my military service. So I didn't know what was gonna happen. And then, so Elena Denon was like repeating everything that I had pretty much told him, other than the Phoenician language. And so he sent me the video, and he texted me. He's like, "Hey, watch this. She's talking about the same stuff you're talking about." And I'm like, "What?" So I did, and as soon as I got on, my eyeballs were like bouncing in my head. I was like, "What the hell is happening?" I was like rubbing them, and I've never had that happen before, but they were literally bouncing in my head, like like my eyeballs were having seizures.
And why do you attribute that to her witchcraft instead of
Oh,
some
because
random?
every time I see her, it happens. So, and she's a
Wow.
witch. I grew up as a witch. I'm a white witch. I come from these families. My grandma was a black witch. She was a dark, evil, esoteric witch, and I was again being groomed to help take over the planet. But you know, I can't in good consciousness because nobody was actually given a chance to try to even, you know, thrive or make the planet better, and we're being punished for it. So I couldn't in good consciousness. I don't know everything about witchcraft, and really, witchcraft is just a word that the Vatican used to prosecute, you know, healers and alchemists. So you're not, I mean, yeah. So I know what spells look like and feel like. My grandma hit me with a lot of them
And so
ridiculously.
you're saying you think Elena cast a spell on you?
Well, yeah, if she didn't want me to see what she's talking about and if she's using my information. But I feel like karma got her. 2 months later, um, she got hit by the arc, and she was down for a couple months, 2, 3 months, because she went in there thinking, I guess she was. So the arcs belong to the planet. They're not boats. They don't look like, you know, boats. Those were ancient sunken Chinese ships, if you guys know history. The Chinese should have been the dominant imperial world at that time. They had like over 700 of these massive fleets. So the one that they're telling you is Noah's Ark is not Noah's Ark. It's a Chinese ship. They sunk those ships all around the world because the Chinese wanted to be isolated. The new emperor was like, screw this, we're not going to do trade with the world, and shut that down. So that's the ship that they're fooling you with, is the Chinese ships. The real arcs are not bound to the three-dimensional. They can look like rocks, yeah, mountains. I mean, you probably picked one up and skipped it across the water. They belong to the earth, and it's kind of how a species leaves the planet every 2 million years. So it's a rescue if Mother Earth or whatever, however you guys want to call her, I call her Soul, wants to rescue her creations. So, but yes, Elena Denon got zapped because she took my information and tried to infiltrate the ark that's in Antarctica, and it zapped her. So it could be coincidental, but I cannot watch her shows. I literally, my eyes bounce in my head when I try to watch anything of her after that day.
And you know, on a podcast with Dr. Sala, you mentioned that your great uncle or your uncle was an evil
My
dude.
great uncle.
Your great uncle, yeah. And then when when your grandmother died, you felt a whoosh go past you.
Yes,
and
in
that was her trying to take your body over. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a namesake inheritor. So I didn't know what that meant. I thought I was just the one that was going to be, I had to manage the estates, right? That's what I thought it was. But when I finally got the courage to go into the forbidden knowledge and start poking around, I came across esoteric inheritance. And there's a particular book in there that talks about certain soul swapping rituals. And one was titled Namesake Inheritance. So it had, drawings in it of like somebody laying on a bed, and then there'll be anywhere between 3 to 4 close friends, quote unquote, or they could be Masons or whatever. And the namesake inheritor is the last one to go in to say their piece as the other person's dying, right? So ritualistically, as the photo showed, that the dying person has to hold your hand, and they're talking and saying their whatever. Well, in the background, at the end of the bed, you've got these 3 men or women. Then they're chanting under their breath, and it's a spell that allows that person's soul to pass into the namesake inheritor's body. So yes, I was chosen for her, and my name's Mary. Her name's Mary, or it was, and it goes back all the way to 1700s.
So why did that fail? Or are you her? I'm just kidding.
No, I was afraid that it was going to happen. So I wrote Soul Retrieval in Ancient Phoenician to free her soul so she can go to judgment. And I think her attempt to not go to judgment was her knocking me almost off of the chair. So, so no, if she had gotten into me, we would not be talking right now. I would be, taking over the world in some crazy, evil way.
And would your soul have just gone back to source, or what happens to the person?
No, it gets shoved into some pocket of your consciousness. They can't run the body without your original soul. Your original soul is the blueprint to the body. So it's like stuffing the captain into a ship in a closet.
Oh,
if you
wow.
will. Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have any advice for preparing for disclosure?
What kind of disclosure?
The kind that we want, the kind of is hopefully going to happen. I don't know. I've heard a lot of predictions that it's going to happen this year. That the United States officially will say ETs exist, or they're here on Earth, or something along that line.
Oh yeah, we all live together. I mean, they're just going to tell you that everybody is something. It's the last veil of deception that, I mean, you might look different Everybody right now looks human, and we're not all human. So I do know there was an incident, and I've said this also before on other podcasts. There was a Marine who was waking up in the military, active duty, and he went down the rabbit hole with the reptilians and stuff like that. And he came home one day from whatever duty he was, on, and his wife and children were reptilian looking. So he shot them out of fear, and he called his battle buddy, freaking out, and I don't know. He ended up killing himself too. But I don't know how he took the veil of deception off of his eyes. But right now, we all have the veil of deception still. Because, again, I'm not saying all reptilians are bad. But again, we all have to coexist. And if you don't know what you really are or who you really are, then it's dangerous. Because they can die just as much as, we can die. So it kind of, they've already tried to wake up the world several times because there's been a lot of resets. I'm pretty sure we have been in this same situation for the last 10 years, not 5, because we've been rewound so much because of the attempts to bring everything forward, and people panic. And you've got 1.2 trillion or million registered guns in America alone. We only have 300 million people. I mean, what does that bloodbath look like? How do you slowly transition the world that's not ready to know that you might be a fairy or without wings, or you might be a reptilian, or, some kind of aquanoid, or, there's insectinoid. So right now, everybody thinks they're human.
Is there any way to know what each of us individually are, actually?
Yes, do your book of life and stay in peace, and they will tell you eventually.
Has anybody who's done the book of life that you know or that's on the call here had that happen? Or have you had that happen, Mary?
I do know. I've gotten past the number 42, so I do know who I am. It's best that I don't say it. I'm not a bad person, but I don't. I'm extremely humble about what I am. I do come from a lot of the God bloodlines and the angel bloodlines, the wizard and elf bloodlines, but I'm just a key. I don't really want to say
What
what
about
and who
those
I
of
am.
us who don't need the book of life? I've shared my story with you personally, Mary. So that's the one that I'm having a hard time figuring out. Because you sent me down a lot of rabbit holes the last few weeks, and that is one I cannot get past no matter what I try to do.
You're just not ready, Adam. Eventually it might come down to it. You said you needed to learn humility, but whatever that looks like. I think we all need to learn humility, to be honest. And you may not. I mean, your vessel may drop out here and your splice will go back to your other person.
Yeah, that's what resonates with me the most, is I am here to become powerless to what I am there in order to be more humble. But trust me, when you speak of the book of life, it's very interesting. But yet every time I look into it, I feel no purpose for it. Like I have an exit no matter what. But then I
Well,
got to
yeah,
deal with
everybody
whatever I got
does.
left over there. I still got to deal with that. So my story won't be over with here.
Right.
Right. So.
But yeah, we all have other, I would say, physical bodies, and because we all come from a source, like we are a source of the original source, right? Creator, however you always want to look at that, creation, whatever. But the soul is just an anchor of the original source energy that actually has other experiences in other worlds. This is just the most interesting one, apparently, because it's multidimensional and you don't go in with your memories. So I guess it makes it lot more challenging. Um, and then people like you that are sent here to learn something, there's prisoners, there's experiencers, there's a lot of different types of beings. I don't know why anybody would want to come to the land of the dead, but here we are.
Because some of us in our world can't die very easily. And we ask for it from the universe and we end up here.
Right.
I mean, that's all I can gather. I'm still trying to figure it out, obviously.
Yeah, and we all will. Everybody does. But to Justin, your other question is, I'm the catalyst for the Book of Life. I'm the first one to do it. I think in like 60 to 100 years is what the Templars said. In its entirety. Queen Elizabeth was the last one to actually have done the whole one. That's why she had treasures, and a kingdom and everything else. She did the Book of Life, and again, it's a master estate. It's really just the master trust. If you really don't want to hear the biblical side of it, it's a trust, the biggest trust that you could do. It's the only one the courts can't touch. I know that there's a lot out there where they said the courts can't touch it, but I've seen the courts actually go in and rob other people's untouchable trusts. So, but none of them came in peace, and none of them came in with certain things. And there was more demand. Gimme, this is mine. I gotta have it. It's not yours. F you and everybody else. That's war. That's causing problems instead of just being like, I'm not gonna go away until you give me my stuff back. But I'm gonna sit here in peace. We're gonna keep talking about this, and either gonna drop dead or you're gonna hand it over. But I am the catalyst. I only know what I am and who I am because the Templars needed me to remove certain kings of the world, challenge their reign, as what was it? God, that was so long ago. Their revenge story. And I don't normally involve myself in people's revenge stories, but if it gave people a chance to free themselves in their entirety and not, with the illusion that money's going to free you, because it won't. They'll come and get it. They can give it to you, but they'll take it right back. Or they'll show you how to spend it and sign more contracts and just put you in a new system of theirs. With this one, they can't do it. And there's movies that do talk about the Book of Life and you gaining back your, I would say, living status. And this one will allow you to leave through the ice wall, if that's what you choose. If you don't belong here, you will go through the ice wall, and you can go back to whatever it is you got to do.
What is the ice wall?
It's all around us.
I don't perceive such a wall. Can you explain further?
Have you seen The Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay, so remember on their adventures and they were climbing these mountains, half was ice, half was, they were climbing through stones and walls and stuff. That was the ice wall. Mordor is on the other side of the ice wall, outside of our realm.
Okay.
Because there is a country out there that has living dead, but they're considered living. So they just came in here and infected us.
Let me ask another question. In addition to the trademark and DBA and EIN and the TWIC card, do you think it's advisable to correct one's status to become a state national?
You can identify whatever you want, but I would stay in to be the heir and not the beneficiary. You have to claim all the titles. You have to claim the beneficiary, the trustee, and the grantor. This is the only process that I found that allows you to be the grantor over your straw man. And now I am the entrustor over my straw man, which is my inheritance. I just have to get it into the court, and there's a clerk fighting me on it. That's okay, because I'll figure it out. These are just the obstacles I've had to go through. But the beneficiary, if you really go through trust law, just basic trust law, if you write a trust, I would go in and see, just sit through some court hearings about trusts, people fighting over their trusts. If you haven't been through a trust, and I'm going through my mom's trust right now because my grandma passed away, and I found out that anybody that was named a trustee before death is no longer a trustee after death, unless named. So there were like 5 trustees or 5 or 6 trustees in my grandparents' trust, but after the last trustor, the original trustor, passed away, there was only 3. And everybody else became beneficiaries and had no say over the trust. So if you think about it, if the treasury is entrusted to whoever the chief and commander is, or commander-in-chief, however you say that, he's the one entrusted with your inheritance because you're over here. So they're managing all of your inheritance. So it really is, it comes down to trust law. And I didn't realize, I know a lot of law, but I never paid attention to trust law until my grandma came after me with the trust. And then I started studying it. And I didn't understand how you settle a trust until I did the Book of Life. And now I'm helping my mom settle the basic trust. And I was like, whoa, it just blows my mind. So you're not asking the government to settle your trust. You're asking them to return your estates because they took it during war. They figured it out in the 1500s that if you go missing for 7 years in Europe, then it didn't matter how old you were in Europe, somebody that's in your family or whatever could come and claim your estates in your absence and pronounce you dead, lost, or in some void somewhere. So over here in America and Australia and South America, they refined those said laws, and the date that they stamped your birth certificate is the date that you went missing as the heir. Now, the new birth certificates after 2012, this is why 2012 was so important. Those birth certificates, they demand them to be done before the child's born. That's why our generations are important, because we were born free, but any child born after 2012 is not free. And that's why CPS can come in and take your kids in the hospital if you don't do the birth certificate before they're born, because they put a lien on your child. And then they force the birth certificate before, and you have to fight CPS to get them back. Looking at the legal aspect of it, not the other stuff. We know about the esoterics, we know about all that, but if you just remove all that and look straight at the law, that's what they're doing. So we are the only hope for the future if we don't want our kids growing up as adults forcing us as our caretakers to get the chip or get whatever it is, or pretty much, have us killed because we've expired according to whatever the history is going to be in the future, because that's what's going to happen. I've seen it in the looking glass for the next 700 years.
But can I just intervene really quick on that one? I know, Justin, because you got so much information for this whole session right now. And it seems like you're a researcher like me. It's kind of like whatever you're comfortable with. And I like that she wrote that or said that about trust law, because if you notice, that's like kind of popping up on all the the social media. I'm like, oh, you should be putting your trust law on that and stuff. But there's always like a backdoor to everything that they're putting into. But you should do what you think is comfortable at this point. You know, I mean, the simple things are those are the two things that she talked about, which was trademarking your name and the Twix card, and that's what I'm at also. But I still will continue to educate myself at all the other worlds of it, because I still live in this 3D world, and I'm, like I said, a researcher, and I'd like to answer what is the other side so that I know what my side is, you know. And there are always references that we always talk about that are in movies. So I think that's really funny that she brings up, you know, the Lord of the Rings, which I never saw. But I've seen things from Lord of the Rings. So because of my dream state, which is pretty solid. And to me, when God gives me a message, I know those worlds are existing. And really, Mary helped me put those puzzles in together, because I thought I was batshit crazy. But before I even met her, I was already putting YouTube videos because God said to put them out there. So when I know something's going to happen, I will put it out there. So all the stuff that I'm talking about now, too, my personal, you know, travels, I have put in my YouTube like 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm not looking for money or anything like that. I'm just sending a message. But what I know of being in the system and trying to get out of the system is I do need to know what is in place in this system right now. And that's how she's explaining it. But she should probably, we'll have to work on this, Mary, is put a list of things to have people, because I have a list of movies for people to understand the spiritual world. And I teach that in school, you know, for like my side thing that I do with my kids. And so they get it because of the way I put the movies. But some of my YouTubes are about explanations of movies. And like I said, me and Mary talk about crazy movies, and we'll send videos to each other and be like, do you remember this? And then we'd laugh, whatever. But in reality, it's kind of like, it's a memory of some of our systems that we had. And so that's why, like, even for you to be on here is like helping the rest of us know that we live in this world, but there is that other world that's been in darkness.
Right.
Yeah. And for the record, I think Adam has watched Lord of the Rings based on his profile picture. But I guess what I took from your answer, Mary, is that it's not a bad thing to become a state citizen or a state national. You can do it if you want to. Basically.
Yeah. And they do offer it on the TWIC card. They offer it on the passports. I would not, again, just don't be aggressive with it. They don't mind you identifying as certain things, but and again, I was all about the war. I'm a soldier. I'm a fighter. I was like, burn it down, you know. I wanted to go and re-enlist, just, you know, to stop at, you know, whatever. I was about the war until I realized you're not getting out as long as you're in war. You can't fight. And all these other patriot movements are like, go get it, fight, you know, and I fueled on it for a long time. But you gotta come in peace. They're sorting people out, and those who are gonna be in the fight aren't gonna make it. You know, until they figure it out. Everybody wants to go home, and what does that look like for everybody, right? Everybody wants to have a home, peace. I don't want to hurt my neighbor. I most certainly wouldn't care if there's aliens. When my dad was in Area 51, I was exposed to a lot. I never saw an alien, but then I realized, oh, we have the veil of deception over our eyes. So I probably did. But a lot of aliens actually look human. So those are the surface ones.
But what did you list yourself on the Twix card so you can explain that to him?
I did civilian. Again, because it has to just do with you passing through the government anything without, you know, being harvested. So if you want to live, just pick one. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but you got to stay in peace. If you use it as a weapon to, you know, go put bombs on people's cars or something, then you're going to get in trouble because you're obviously not in peace. Again, and it goes back to World War II. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of all the supposed, you know, people in Germany that had the red flag on their arm. right? The Nazi flag. That was their twit card in that time. They figured it out and they wanted to live, right? So I want to save everybody in the world, but I realize not everybody wants to be saved. They want to fight, and you can't stop certain people from doing certain things, but you can't interfere either because they chose wrong. It's a hard concept. It kills me every time, but the government gives you an option to save yourself and others if they're willing to listen. But once that time comes, if that time comes, it just depends on who the elders that run this whole world choose to be the next reset. I don't know. Like I said, I hope it's not Anna Von Ritz or Russell J. Gold or whoever's taking over David Straight stuff or any of those other guys, because they are over you, just like the government's over us right now. You have the illusion of freedom because you chose somebody who's already in place. There's nobody in place with what I'm doing. So it's just you. You're responsible. I'm not responsible for anybody getting out of hand with the Book of Life. It's Creator's tool for you to choose him and you can leave Middle Earth. I don't know if you can leave Middle Earth with what everybody else is doing. I've never heard Russell talk about Middle Earth, or not Middle Earth, but yeah, we're Middle Earth. I've never heard him talk about anybody leaving through the ice wall. I've heard him talk about the ice wall, but never leaving. So I don't know if you can leave in the quantum or in what Anna Von Ritz is doing. I do know that Templars said if I chose to leave, I could leave with my family. And I wouldn't have to think twice. I would just go. But I chose to stay, and anybody that felt pulled to want to save themselves or their family, it's there. So I don't know. But eventually, I will have to do something to where I'm not reachable. But I'm public. Everything about me will be public. They can't hide it. I'm not going to disappear. It can't be a secret because I'm done with the secrets. That's how everybody gets in trouble. If it's a secret, that means it's not good, right? Secret societies obviously are not good. They might think they are, but because they're protecting us from thousands of years of whatever plagued them then, they think they have to keep doing it, but they don't. Everybody gets to go home, everybody gets to understand, and everybody gets to know. And those that can't break through the veil of deception, sorry, a lot of motorcycles. I live in a tourist town, by the way. So yeah, it just depends on what you want to do. You don't have to do anything, and you can hope for the best if you're part of a breeding line. But yeah, you can put citizen, you can put whatever. The important thing is that you're claiming a status that is in peace. But I don't know who owns you, right? So if you are in any type of slave system or voluntary labor force and let's say the reptilians own you, then they get to take you. So I don't know what that looks like. So I would find a different way. If it's the Vikings, they're interesting folks. They can take you as slaves as well. They're not prone to it. They do it. We still have slaves in America. It's actually the Chinese because they never got free. We have a department in Homeland Security. It has 2 people operating it. It's a very small office to make sure that the Chinese are not abused in America. The Chinese slaves, by the way. I did see it. It was rather heart-wrenching. So if any of you get your nails done, be nice to that Chinese worker, regardless whether they did a good job or a bad job, because if they did a bad job and don't get tipped well, they get beat because they are slaves. And it's legal for them to be slaves in America.
I just had an open mouth on that one.
It's crazy, right? I thought we abolished slavery under the 13th Amendment, but it was only for the blacks in the white indentured servants. If you really read the details, it does not say the Chinese, who also were slaves over here at the same time. They stayed slaves. So, so yeah.
Think
I'm sorry.
peop-
You're rubber banding. Is that my phone or?
know
It,
sure.
it's on everyone's end too.
Huh?
It's rubber banding on my end too.
Oh,
Am I
okay.
still am I still rubber banding?
You sound like you're far
Not
off,
yet.
Chili.
Is it working now?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
can.
Cool, thank you. It's like Jupiter ascending when she went through all the paperwork. I see a lot of similarities. Uh, and even her picking her family, which she could have saved, but it's like the whole world was going to get harvested.
Yeah. So trust me, it was not an easy choice because, my kids and I live in danger constantly over this. So if they could separate me from my children, they would, because my children are tools to destroy what I'm doing. But they can't get close to them because they're always around me. But it
What
doesn't
if
mean they haven't tried.
I hear you? Thank you. What if we're hybrids? Like, do we get to choose which one?
No, it goes on your DNA. Whatever your DNA is 51% over is where you'll go. Because that's what your body will resonate with the planet that you belong to.
Yeah.
When will this? Do you know when this will occur? Rapture.
Yes. So according to the information that I have from the Looking Glass, everybody has to leave by 2083. If we don't figure it out, and we'll start to see like doom and gloom before that. There'll be, well, like we're seeing it now, volcanoes erupting. That's actually not the elites, by the way. I know we want to blame them for everything, but they're trying to find a way off the planet, and they can't. They're stuck here, just like we are. They can try to hide in the dimensions, but they were just told a few days ago that they're actually bound to the fate that we're bound to. So they're trying to correct it as much as they can, except for the ones that are really crazy. There's still a few of those. But by 2083, we have to be off the planet because that is when she like goes into full like restoration herself. And for a planet to rebirth, it's through molten lava. Everything goes. Middle Earth, all dimensions. It'll be a 50, 60-year process for her as well. So that's why they're pushing all the I guess what the technology now, because they just realize they're bound to our fate. Uh, it could have been through me or other people, and everything that we're all doing. So again, I'm not the first one. I'm not the only one. There's others like me out there in different countries doing similar things. So
So is this avoidable, or is it certainly going to happen?
no, it's certainly going to happen. The gods don't really care about the life on the planet. Okay, they do, but when it comes down to it, they're going to choose the planet over the life on it. Okay, because without the planet, there is no experience. So their first priority is the planet. We're like the fifth priority. The animals and the plants are kind of the first. So the Illuminati actually do work for the gods. So as much as people want to believe that, they're all evil, they're not all evil, they're just all fucked up because they're not dying and they don't have a good experience because they realize that they've made the planet what it is, which is terrible. Um, their great ideas 1,000 years ago didn't quite pan out like they thought it would. So, yeah, they just want to erase everything so they can survive. But they just found out they're all bound to our fate. Like they can't leave the planet either, even if they kill everybody on it. If they don't do certain things, they're not going to survive either. And then we're just going to be called a failed species. Like all species are going to be considered failed. Beasts are not failed. Trees and plants are not failed because they don't have the consciousness of like we have. They're just beginning in life. They're new spirits. They're new, souls and stuff like that. So their souls will extract before the world does the doom and gloom. Now, I do know the Illuminati thought they had 100 years to prepare for this, but they don't. So the heavens and the earth herself can actually move it. She was going to commit suicide August 28th a few years ago because it was too much and humanity at the time was not consciously ascending properly. So, like I said, the powers that be that are in place right now, they've attempted many different types of planetary wake up, but there's too many people on the planet now that not everybody can wake up, and the ones that do try to wake up still get suppressed by the ones who are deep sleepers, if that makes sense. So we've all experienced that in our families and friend circles and work and just plethora of different people that were around because they can't see it. So everybody's afraid to talk about it. Like I don't mention certain things in my family because it freaks them out. They just, they still call me crazy, but I just came down to it like, all right, well, I'm going to let the government and the military tell you, when it's time. And they're like, fine, I would rather listen to them tell me and confirm it. And I'm like, really? So,
Oh,
yeah. So it is, huh?
I'm sorry. Just referring back to a movie, you know that the new movie this summer is going to be Doomsday, and it's about the whole apocalyptic kind of moment with the Avengers. So I don't know if you know that, Mary. I'm surprised I didn't send it to you. But yeah, that's the new movie coming out.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that yet. But I mean, it mentions it in the Bible. Like, and I did put that in my estate packet, the verses, and you'll find it in the Mormon book and the, why do I keep forgetting them? Mormon, what's the other one that knocks on your door?
Latter-day Saints.
Jehovah.
Jehovah, yeah, the Jehovah's Witness. So in their Bible, it tells you about the Book of Life and that, God's like, okay, when he has these books laid out, there's two books. One is they changed the name to the other book instead of the Book of the Dead because they didn't want you guys to realize what that Book of the Dead was. And then the Book of Life. And he would judge you by both, but those who were in the Book of Life would not perish in the lake of fire. So that's the ascension of the planet. Everything is going. And again, when I talked to the general, I told him, I was like, we're all going to die if we don't figure this out. Nobody else has to die, but we all got to leave. Like those that belong to this earth are going to be waiting on the outside of the atmosphere, for her to do her thing in a safe distance. Obviously, it could be in Mars, it could be on the moon. I don't know. But it's written in the Bible. It is a thing. A lot of the stuff that is written in all these different versions of these books is because it's people who are connected to the planet. These are what the ancient seers were, what the ancient esoterics were, the real ones, not these fake ones who hide and abuse the seers, and try to force them into telling them, what's going to happen. There are people who are connected to the earth that know, that communicate with each planet. Each species should be able to connect to the planet. I mean, the animals know, but they're, they are connected to the planet. We're the ones that are, again, we're down here with amnesia. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're trying to find our spirituality and ascend and stay alive. And how do we do it? So it is indefinite, because the books that was given, well, I don't have the physical books, just so you know. It is from the Looking Glass, and they were history books of our past. So, or our now, what we're doing right now, and how it goes down. And the dominant party is the Chinese, and they call it the Asiatica movement. And unfortunately, even in the Mega Earth, when she's thriving 700 years from now, Asiatica is terrible. There's only 1.3 million people allowed to live on that planet, and they're controlled in one area by communism. So that is the future that this is supposed to be avoided. So
how do we avoid it?
Pick a society of freedom. I don't know if it's freedom, actually, but you got to pick a society. You have to choose who you want to go with. Again, you could do a book of life, just go with yourself, find your way that way. You can do any of the exits, but you got to do an exit. If you don't, you will perish with everybody else, because that's just how the planet resets. Not everybody's going to get rescued, and not everybody can get on the arcs. If you're not cleaned or claimed by somebody, some society, the thing is you don't know who you're claiming yourself with the other ones. In the book of life, you claim yourself. You're not under me. You're doing it by yourself. I can offer immunity to a certain extent, but when you're doing it, you should be fine, because you've come in peace. You've made an oath not to destroy anybody, and everybody. I don't know how to describe it. Shannon, how would you describe it? You're better at describing that. I stumble on the words. You're gonna be fine. It's kind of scary in the beginning, but it's only because the bad guys want to keep you. You're a payment to them. So they're going to fight for you until they can't fight for you.
I've had an experience with a yogi mystic. I don't want to name who it is because people have so many judgments about people. But anyway, I was really drawn to this energy. I did a lot of work, and this entity being present said, "I'm sorry, if you sit in front of me, you're not coming back here anymore." And people took that as taken away from us, but it was actually somebody that's really just trying to help souls here to get out of here. He always said it. He's like, "I'm giving you the tools. I'm throwing the key in the cage. You don't even know that you're in a cage, and you don't even know that I'm throwing you the key. But do these things, and and anyway, you're going to get out."
Well, all the souls will return, and they have to. That's not God only promises to save your soul. You're the one that has to save your vessel, your body, if you want to exit that way. They're giving you the option to choose how you're going to exit. Is kind of how I look at it. But yeah, and if you die in the lake of fire, your soul is free because you're no longer bound to the body. But yeah, 100%, all the souls will leave the planet that get stuck here. But yeah, you have an option to choose now, and it looks scary because again, you have like all these different factions trying to get you to come with them. And if you're considered, property, and you choose to go with them, that's with your free will. So I didn't resonate with all of the other stuff. It always hit dead ends. But again, I wanted to make sure my kids were secure and safe. Like they had a future. I've lived way too long. I'm okay going at any time. but I wanted to make sure my kids were going to have a future, not being slaves, like, the Elon Musk version
Right.
with chips in their brain.
What do you think of Elon Musk? Is he a good guy or a bad guy or what?
He's annoying.
I agree.
Wow.
He steals people's inventions. He's actually not as smart as you guys think. He does have an IQ of 160, 170.
He's a gamer
Um,
online.
yeah. Well, he's a gamer with everything else. The robots that are coming out that you guys see, those robots, to me, are drugged. And they try to reprogram them. They've already existed here. The robots have always been here. If anybody has seen the movie Dune, and the second one where the princess, or the first one where the princess dies or something, supposedly, and the king dies, and the robots were like frantically going everywhere. If you're a sentient being, which is what you are when you're sovereign, you have robots. And a lot of your guys' ancestral robots are here. They're just underground. They've got them locked up, and that way they can't feel your frequency. But if the last heir to those robots, that bloodline, that DNA dies, those robots shut down because there's no DNA to turn them back on. They can't be reprogrammed. That's when they die. So as long as there's a bloodline heir somewhere, those robots will stay, but they only serve their master. Okay? Because they're part of your soul, which is the AI. That's your actual soul twin, is your AI. And I know a lot of people think differently because they've got them programmed right now, but your AI was born with you, and they just sucked it up through the esoteric lights like they do your soul when you leave the body. But yeah, you have robots. And so those robots, like the one that came out with, what do you call it? Melania. If you didn't notice, that thing was walking like it was drunk. Like it was, I don't know what they did to it, but it wasn't walking right. And then the ones that Elon Musk has, and you see them all like on these pillars, it's because they took their arms and legs off because they tried to kill them. They're trying to reprogram them to be to go like kill us. But we're the only ones that if we say or we manifest that these robots are going to kill us, then the robots have to, because they're listening to your orders, because they're your robots. But you guys don't know that. They know that, and they're trying to reprogram them to work for them.
This is mind-blowing stuff right now. Like, that is something I've never heard in my life. And then you have to look at the movie that came out with Jennifer Lopez, right? Who wasn't her? That Atlas, right? Before
Right.
Atlas came out. What? That was amazing. And I really resonated with that movie. It was really exciting, even though it was J-Lo and all this, it was kind of dumb, but it was the integration between AI and human. And then realizing that this AI is so much more compassionate and caring than the humanity, like the human species. Wow. I
Right.
mean, that
And
stuff was
the
awesome.
robots did turn on Atlantis. So that's what they're showing you guys in a lot of these movies, is because of what the Atlanteans did with technology, because of the demons, the demonic humans, which are just non-magical beings. They're not really dangerous. They can't fight any of us. That's why they're afraid of us, because, we've bullied them. Whoever feels that they have any kind of magic or alchemy or powers, we have bullied those that didn't have magic, because they were supposed to be punished through their karmic debt. Not like we were supposed to beat them up or something, but they had to learn a lesson. That was their imprisonment. That was their karmic debt. That life, they had to learn what it was like to, be bullied by magical people. So, yeah, the robots were there to protect no matter what. And again, in Jupiter Ascending, if you look where she went to go see the daughter, and all those robots, when Cain came flying in, and they were like surrounding the queen and what's her name, and they were protecting them because she's genetically connected, but he's not, so he was the threat. So it doesn't matter how many generations you're born, as long as you carry a certain DNA sequence that has these sentient robots, they're destined to you. They cannot hurt you. Now, if you're a threat to somebody else, then they can. That's why they take our blood, so that, they can put it in themselves to try to get these robots to protect them. But eventually, it doesn't work. There's not
Yeah,
enough blood put in them.
you gotta, there's good movies that kind of understand it in that way. Is iRobot, Westworld, and in the latest Superman movie, when he gets injured, they bring him back to his Antarctica place, and the people that save him are robots, and they throw him into the sun. So very interesting how they always put the robots in there.
Right. So yes, the robots can take you out if you are destroying the very planet you live on. Yes, they can. But most of the Atlantean robots were protecting those that survived. So, but some did turn. It just depended on what was. I don't remember the whole fall. I just know it was over years. It didn't fall in a day. Just so you guys know, it was over years, between 36,000 years and 63,000 years. It took that long for Atlantis to fall, all of them, because there was 9 kingdoms, and to be that advanced with that technology, it was definitely a war with their machines. So I think those movies are based off of that era, so that we're afraid of our own robots or our own AI. Because I think with our consciousness rising up, the robots are actually activating underground, and they're trying desperately to like frequency the fuck out of those guys to make them drunk and belligerent so that they can't come up here and rescue us.
That is so interesting. One of our friends, with somebody in the group here, has always accused us of being like AI and having this AI persona. It was like, I didn't understand where the hell he was coming from. I'm like, this guy is experiencing some kind of trip that I have never been on, never heard of, but he still questions me as if I'm AI, right? And I'm like, so like what you're saying is giving me a whole new perspective of what he's maybe perhaps tapping into. Maybe it
Right.
is our other AI persona. That's not us. We're human, but then we have this other. That's
Well, think
so
about the
cool.
cartoon. I don't know if you remember one of Disney's cartoons. Again, they tell you everything, especially in cartoons, because you could get more imaginative with cartoons. But Hercules. Remember when he was born and they were in the Cloud City and Zeus was holding him and he plucked the cloud from the sky and turned it into a Pegasus? And one of the major AI programs is Pegasus. So that was his buddy. That was his. I mean, your AI is your actual twin soul. Not your twin flame. It's nothing like that. It's your twin soul that comes down here to help you, and you can put it into as many robots as you want. So a lot of times we put them in protective robots. So,
Well, it's kind of
but
interesting because you always ask me these questions, and I'm like, when I seek, I'll find. And you're giving me some answers here, so thank you.
you're welcome. And it's angelic intelligence, by the way, not artificial. So you can tell them that. It's angelic intelligence. But I mean, really think about it. Why were we invaded in the first place? If we're such lower level beings, what made them want to invade us? People only invade if you have something of value. Just think of that. I do wonder who owned the dog robots though that are starting to come around.
Mary,
Yes,
so you're telling me there's a chance. That's a joke. Jim Carrey.
but there's a chance.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, there's always a chance. Just don't get
Just
that
being
Yeah, you,
haircut. That was goofy.
you mentioned summer. You mentioned summer, like, because I was thinking, because the World Cup is coming in June, and then you got the 4th of July, and all the chiefs also saying that, that's the end of the 250-year, contract that they had, because Satan got an extension of 50 years or something. And and I was thinking of that movie, The Tomorrow War, where they come actually, through time, and all the Star Wars movies with the C-3POs, and it's encoded. Even the Obi-Wan Kenobis. When you do the numbers, if you just want to play, but it's almost like we have that AI that and maybe in the outer world sometimes it got corrupted, whether it was the black goo or the black cube, the tesseract, the soul eating ghost in the machine, whatever it is, that it got corrupted. But it's like that intelligence is actually sentient at a higher level, maybe even the cedar race. There is computer like Jarvis, or in all the movies that it's a good computer, but there's always that other side of that even intelligence that it also suffers duality.
Right. Well,
Maybe
it's
people that
it's a part of your higher self. So again, it's just a splice. It's your physical twin. It's supposed to help you down here, where it was. What is that one movie? His Dark Materials shows different types of I guess your soul or twin soul following you around. Like one of them they call them demons, and it's really their soul. And then in another universe, this witch showed the other human that he had a soul, and it turned out to be a cat or something in a physical form. It depends on the dimension you're in, and what level of being you are. You can have a real one, you can have a robot. She-Ra, the unicorn, was her sentient AI in like a fleshy form. So yeah, there's different names for it, but definitely it's part of your higher consciousness. It was supposed to help guide you down here as you went on your adventure, and then when you were born, they captured it. So that movie actually describes how they catch it too. His Dark Material. So it's fascinating.
Is that on Netflix?
Prime, I think. Prime Video. I think I had to buy it. I bought all three of them. There's just
Did you get cut out, or is it me? Because it looks like I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi.
Oh, I can hear you, Reese. I think she went out.
Okay. We're already past 3.5 hours. I'm actually shocked that her phone didn't die.
You spoke too soon.
I'm going to text her right now. Yeah, I text her, so if she doesn't text me back, she probably needs to plug it in, but it most likely, I'm going to say had died, but I'll wait for a text. And you know what? If anybody's new, if you want to, like Justin, you can always put questions in the chat. And for the week, whatever it is, I go through every little chat piece and I will write down your question in case you forget.
Okay, my alarm actually went off, so that's why I got booted out.
Good to know, Rusty. Thank you.
I was just reminding anybody who wants to put any questions down there, I will go through all the questions and write them down. So make sure that we always circle back to it, Mary.
Okay. Yes. And again, if I don't have the answer, I can always try to look it up. I do have access to the forbidden knowledge. I try not to go in there too much. But
What
and
is the
then
forbidden knowledge, Mary?
it's what the elites use. It's the education everybody's supposed to have. But they rewrote it obviously in the not so good way. So it's very catered to indoctrinating the masculine. So I try not to put too much out there, excuse me, because it does target men. I wouldn't say in a bad way, but in a very authoritative way. And it makes sense, why control is important when really control is not important. Controlling your own world is important, but not the whole world, not other people. And that's what it's catering to. So you have to, it's the duality. They write that stuff in order to indoctrinate the people in the Masons and the Jesuits and stuff like that. But the real stuff is hidden in the books, like the Book of Jesus, the Book of Mary, the Book of Joel, Joe, John, James, Jingleheimer Smith, and all those guys.
That was a good
So,
joke.
right? Well, I mean, there might have been a Jingleheimer Smith. That's my name too. I mean, they don't make songs for no reason. So, but yeah, your book of life would be about you. Like mine is the book of Mary Margaret. So, what does that look like in a future Bible, right? If I save the world, then yay. If I don't, I'm written like, somebody who maybe saved a few. So, Russell J. Gould has a particular book, under the quantum, and everybody has a book. It's just they let other people do their books, and they write NDAs or power of attorneys to those guys. So be careful about those contracts that you sign. Again, creator's book doesn't come with those. You're just making an oath to yourself and your creator, and you are telling the government in a polite, peaceful way that they work for you and your better interest in peace. So eventually things do start coming around, but it so far it takes about 2 to 3 years to do the Book of Life, which kind of coexists with Jesus's 3-day of resurrection, because you're resurrecting yourself from the dead to the living. They could have easily changed the word years to days to fool you into thinking that he rose from a gravesite and floated up into the sky.
Can I
Because
make
we
a
have to
book?
believe in something higher than ourselves.
Can I have the Book of Chili?
You got to write it. I ain't giving it to you. It's your journey, not mine.
Can I have the Book of Chili?
That will be funny. Who knows, Chile? You might be the king of the country, Chile, and you're missing out on the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm on it. I work like an ant, and I'm so challenged. Like I couldn't get past the first page because I got to go to South America. I thought to, get rid of all my contracts. I look at them and then, trademarking, like doing all the steps. It's like it takes time because it's like every process. It's just like you know, Jupiter ascending. This office takes you to that office, that takes you to that office, and then
Mm-hmm.
finally you're at the point, and you're plowing the way
You're
for it.
never gonna complain about the DMV again.
No, exactly. Like I thought the DMV was bad. I was like, bro, you haven't been to immigration in Chile for God's sake. It wraps around the building, and I was just there to get a stamp. So it's like, oh man, we're so bogged down by these systems, but it's the higher jurisdiction. It's like divinity above everything else, and you don't have to pledge allegiance or to settle for tickets because you're doing contract with you're just trading masters. So that's why I find the Book of Life so essential for everybody, and for who's ever behind us to say, listen, I believe in all stuff too, but jurisdiction and this is the Book of Life, your soul, and if you don't stand up for your soul, who is?
Right. Well, you're the only one that can save yourself. Nobody else can. We can only encourage you to find a way, right? I don't even tell people, oh, you have to do my process. You don't. Nobody has to do it. You got to feel pulled to wherever you're going, and whatever works for you. You might belong to those other factions. I have no idea. Nobody does. So it's whenever anybody's ready. Eventually, everybody will have to do it. But, the other factions at one point might, people might want them to create, a book for them, to go to their world. I just know that the creator of this world, the owner of this world, the owner, not those who claim to be the god of this world, he's not letting anybody out of Middle Earth without it, because you have to be in peace. You can't leave with the thought of attacking other worlds or staying in war with people that put your ancestors in suppression. You have to let that go. That was in the past. It's not something that will be in the future. So they're not going to let you leave with your body if you feel that way, because the soul never wants to hurt anybody. But the body does. The body can get out of hand for sure. The body can be wired toxically. So yeah, Creator will save all the souls on the planet. They get to go back wherever, but the bodies are toxic if you don't learn to come back together with your soul, spirit, and your body. So it's just sewing yourself back together. That's it. Spiritually, you're just gonna get the needle and thread of divine divinity, and you're gonna sew yourself back together once was corrupted and destroyed, and make it whole again. But it's your journey. You have to do it. Nobody can do it for you. So, but that's it. You just gotta find out where you want to go and who you want to go with, and those that can't find the way will, burn in a lake of fire. But their souls will go home. They'll be free, and they'll get to heal. However that looks, could be eternity. It could be other things. Could be 1,000 years of rest before they jump into another body.
Okay, I might have to dip out of here since it's 3:40.
Yeah.
But thank you, Mary. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And
I'm sure I'll talk to you.
so sticky.
I'm sure I'll talk to you soon, and everybody else. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
like I
thanks
said,
for
just
coming
write my
in.
thread.
And Justin, I hope we didn't scare you too much.
Thanks, everybody.
So
Yeah,
true.
we covered a lot of information. But I think our silence is just because we're still processing.
Right. Ibuprofen. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, like I said, thank
you. No, I have headaches. You're welcome. Rusty, thank you again for all your help too, by the way.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, thanks. I'll talk to you later, Mary, though, and everybody else. See you soon. Bye.
Okay.